African Americans built this nation. You built this nation. You know, you're just starting to get real credit for that. Okay, I don't know if you know that. You're just starting to get, you built the nation. We all built it, but you were such a massive part of it. Bigger than you were given credit for. Does that make sense? Right? African Americans built this nation. You built this nation. You know, you're just starting to get real credit for that. Okay, I don't know if you know that. You're just starting to get, you built the nation, but you were such a massive part of it. Bigger than you were given credit for. Does that make sense?
Hey, salute to the chat. Kwame said, African American built the nation. You know, whatever. You know, we don't really argue that too much. Kwame, people gonna call themselves whatever they want. For some of us that come here, we prefer the acronym FBA. Some prefer ADOS. Some like U.S. Freedmen. Okay, African American. That's the label of immigrants. The bottom line. Chinese American, Jewish American, Italian American, African American. That's all. Just a simple no thank you there for that and for that reason. And that's why Paul Cuff, Alexander Cromwell, Richard Allen, Martin Robinson Delaney, none of those people call themselves African. And they call themselves Negro colored. And then at some point, freedmen. All right. So I like to use and they all believed it was American. So after 1868, the 14th Amendment. So I like to respect my ancestors and what they fought for. They fought to become an American citizen. They did not fight, and they fought to take on the name American. My ancestors did not fight to be called African American. They actually ran from that. The people who started, the founders of the African American AME, African Methodist Episcopal Church, you might have missed that live, bro, but the founder called it that, and later on, the people who ran it wanted to take the African out of there. They didn't want it there. So no thank you. We didn't start using African American until Jesse Jackson. I did a whole live on that. You might want to check that out. Jesse Jackson came from nowhere. So you guys are lying. That wasn't legally binding. That wasn't on the record. Nothing. He just said it the same way we said FBA, AOS, and Freedmen. The difference is he had media in his pocket. But family, African American, that's not a legal nothing on paper. Negro, colored, and Freedmen is though. So when they say, hey man, FBAs, hey, well join it. But so is African American, right? So now Jesse Jackson can say something, no polls, no Democratic vote, no political leaders, nobody. He went there, he ran to some media, you know, non-black media, a lot of white folks, a lot of Jewish, and they pushed African American. They felt like it was safer. They felt like, it's funny because that is supposed to be revolutionaries, especially when they come in here. They claim to be black power, but brother, you need to know that they accepted the African American because they were threatened by the you guys brag about Stokely Carmichael, black power. Well, guess what? White folks were afraid of that, so they took on African American. They felt like that was easier, less aggressive, less rebellion in nature. So that's the history, bro. They pushed African American, and you guys take it too because you want to be less aggressive, less, you know. I get it. Yeah, but I did a whole live on that. You have to check that out. All right. Yeah, but that was a freestyle lesson for you right there. So you know, I'll be on it. I don't let y'all get away with nothing. So let's do a couple of videos before we get right into it. Just some short videos, some funny stuff. Some of it real talk, some of it funny. But check this out right here.
I'm invited to your party, but you're not invited to mine. Anything that Black Americans have set aside for ourselves, anyone with 1 drop of African blood is invited to and can participate in. Anytime there are things that are specifically for Caribbeans, Africans, insert home country thing, those are things that we cannot participate in and we are not invited to. There are no spaces that are exclusive to African Americans. And when we request spaces or things that are exclusive to us, we are called xenophobic. But we cannot go to your country and behave the same way. We can't go to your country and demand spaces for ourselves. I'm invited to your party, but you're not invited.
That's a deep message, yo. The holy FBA Codex TV1 is funny. He said African American is very in a shallow grave right now. Hey, Codex, there's a great chance, my brother, that we can talk about your book weeks before I go to New Jersey. There's a great chance. Okay, so I will inform you. I would know by Friday, but it's possible we can link up and talk. Let's say possibly anywhere between this Friday and let's say Saturday, Sunday, and that whole week. You could say this weekend, anytime this weekend, or up to the whole week. But I'll let you know for sure. Things got to work out in the real way today or tomorrow, and that's a great possibility. All right? Okay, so let's move on. Okay, here we are.
Let's be clear on that. So I'm trying to figure out why it is so important for some Black Americans to differentiate themselves from looking like Africans when literally, if you do a DNA test, you're going to see some kind of West African most likely in your DNA. Are you guys looking more so for the European features? Because yes, we do understand as Africans that a lot of you guys have European DNA and European blood, and there's a lot of mixing over the previous 400 years. Nobody is denouncing that.
You are, because you're calling us West African. You're calling us African, and those folks don't have the percentage of European DNA in us. Okay? So we can't be that, man. We can't be that. Even Professor Grift knows that, because when we say, hey, those Africans, they be tethering, Professor Grift says this. He said, what you mean Africans? Be more specific. What country? And I'm like, well, right back at you. Don't you call us Africans? Be specific. What country are we from? You see, that works both ways.
But what is so offensive when it comes to looking like an African person? And why is
that's not offensive. An average one of us don't look like an African person, whatever that is, right? Be proud. You definitely look like an African person, okay? But the average FBA man, in my opinion, kind of look like Denzel Washington. Maybe a little browner, maybe a little lighter, but from my 47 years on this earth, when I meet Black people, they're pretty much on average the same color as Denzel Washington.
Is it that Black Americans who are doing this want to have that line between I look American versus I look African?
Tried to destroy. Wait, that. I didn't mean to do that. I hate when I do that, man. My fault. My fault, fam. Let me go back. I hate when I try to pause it. I do some cookie stuff like that. So why does thing keep blocking me?
We don't eat African food.
And again, I'm not sure where that began and why it's trending, but I've seen a couple of those videos, and I just want to know what is going on with the Black community, Black American community. Like, why is it that people are denouncing their heritage? If somebody gets on here and says, I look different than an African person, and a bunch of people get on here and tell them, well, you actually look Zimbabwean, you actually look like you're Ghanaian, you actually look Nigerian, and they're getting so offended.
That's okay. Let me give Glenn Thompson a lineage rinse. Yeah, so Patty, my fault for going late. This is not my hour right here. As you guys know, my lives are normally in the AM, in between, let's say 8 to about 11 a.m. So I'm off my time slot. It might not be lit in the chat today. It's fine. It happens. I'll replay it another time at a better hour, but I'd rather get this out the way than not go live at all. You dig? So pardon me, family.
offended.
I
Ask
know a lot
yourself
of
where
y'all
that
already got something going
internalized
on.
self-hate is coming from. Because how are you going to denounce your heritage? Without Africa, Black Americans would not be in existence. Let's be clear on that.
How are you clearing that? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. But well, you can say, don't stop there. You can say without Europe, we won't be in existence, literally, because Africa sold us to the European, and Africa sold us to Europe, and here we are. So without both of you, we wouldn't be in America. But guess what? That's the reality. So we are here, and we are who we are.
So I'm trying to figure out why it is so important for some Black Americans to differentiate themselves from looking like Africans, when literally, if you do a DNA
Yeah,
test, you're going
Australia
to see
too.
some kind of West African, most likely, in your
Okay, so that
DNA.
part we already
It is
heard.
looking more so for have
I'm glad, 'cause I didn't get the beginning.
Europeans who are doing this want to have that line between I look American versus I look African. There's a lot of self-hate happening here, and I just feel like
Okay.
we need to discuss it.
We don't eat.
Hey, yeah, she said a lot of stuff. Yeah, discuss it, but then they don't discuss it with us. Okay, when Lex pull up on this platform and try to have that conversation, they don't allow him to speak freely. They don't allow me to speak freely. They don't even invite me over there. Professor Griff was live today, and I was trying to, get him to address some questions, and he put the link out there. Like, dude, I'm not clicking that link because this guy, I seen what he did. I seen him mute people. He gaslight and then kick the guy off after the guy proved his point. But listen to sister right here. We don't eat
African food like that. African food ain't good. Black people eat Jamaican food. Hell, we'll eat Indian food, Chinese food.
Nah, I haven't had Indian food either. I've never eaten African food prepared by an African. I might have tasted a few things Indian, but I can't say I really ate that either.
Before we go buy African food.
Mind you,
Yeah, but I can tell you, family, there's a lot of African stores in Newark. I never went inside one of them. I'm not saying they're bad or don't taste good. That's just not on my mind. Like she said, I would rather just go to a Jamaican restaurant. I'd rather go to a Mexican restaurant. I'd rather go to an Italian restaurant. I'd rather go to so many different soul food restaurants, so many fish restaurants. African, that's not on my brain at all. That's not even like the last thing. It's just not on there at all. I don't know a dish. I hear from Tariq, Goosey, and Kalani. I've never seen that stuff in real life.
Africa is a continent with 54 countries. Please listen to me. Africa is a continent with 54 countries. Me, as somebody that is born in Congo, I have never in my life ever ate Somalian food. I've never ate South African food. I've never ate Egyptian food. I've never ate Nigerian food, ever. Then to give examples of food that you would eat, you
right,
name
let's move on.
countries.
I'll come back to this another live. So the title, y'all like, but I gotta do this, family. I've been meaning to share this for so long and just being backed up. Sorry, I do it on the Tariq reaction video, but I'm almost done.
Outcome is a Black American.
And you see them as like mixed people.
They're mixed race.
Okay, you see? So y'all gotta make your mind up to this. They say we're African and it's self-hate, but an actual African in Africa, a Rwandan to be exact, said we're a mixed race. You don't see us as African. Let me go back.
Okay.
White. An outcome is a Black American.
And you see them as like mixed people.
They're mixed race.
Okay. Now,
Many seem to overestimate the level of mixture in African Americans. This may be because lighter-skinned people are more represented in media. Let's ask these ladies where they're getting their information from.
so where do you get
Movies.
most of your knowledge of them from?
I got it from school and from movies. Yeah, movies.
Yeah. But when we watch movies about them, they say, hey, man, you guys are being divisive. You're hating us. When we watch Feed the Kids, those type of things on some TV or Bugs Bunny, with the bone in the nose. They'll say, hey, man, you get your perspective of us from white supremacy, but then they'll tell you that they get their perspective from us, about us, from white supremacy as well. Like, come on.
Documentaries I've watched like that. That's series I've watched like black Americans. They do have love.
I've ever seen them in movies, like lot of things.
Okay, so you see them in movies.
Music. Most musicians.
Yeah, so they know us through hip hop videos directed by white people, most likely, and movies directed by white people. Okay. But then they'll watch the worst movies. Well, they watch all the movies, the great ones and the worst ones. But then they'll only pin us to the bad movies. Because what about Hancock? Pause. What about Blade? You dig? How come y'all don't say, wow, these guys are night walkers? Like, why do they watch Boys in the Hood and say, hey, that's who they are? But what about the other movies, which is great? What about all the Wesley Snipes movies? He's kicking ass as a cop. You dig? Family, this is hilarious. Jamaican man, like, not today, Ice.
You move in these palaces. Do you have a recurrent, sir? Do you have a green card? What? I'm not working. Yeah, I'm serving on. I'm a missionary. Sir? What? Sir?
Yeah. Yeah, that dude, yo. Yo, he was like, not today. All right, let's do this fool.
The serious question I put on the screen, family. What are you prepared to do for the black nation right here? How can we get our ish together here, right now? We're waiting for original Skywalker's answer.
He was calling me out too.
Now don't come back with nothing foolish.
Yeah, I gave him answers in chat, and he wouldn't read my answers. Yeah, that was hilarious.
All right, answer the question. What do Africa need black Americans for? I'm curious. Maybe I missed it. I'm on IG over here.
This dude is delusional.
Okay, there may be bots and trolls. You're right.
Okay. It makes you feel better, buddy.
So now it's immigrants. Next, it might be nationalized citizens. Next, it might be black Americans.
Yeah, but what about the sovereign citizens? Are they next after that? What about the Moors? I mean, everywhere. What about the Moorish sovereign citizens, right? What they are immune to the jurisdiction of the United States. You might as well just scare everybody.
You hear it sometimes.
Okay, so there you go, fear tactics. All right, and okay, we already watched that one. All right, so now let's get to it, man. Let's get to it. Here we are. Here we are.
Let me get some calls in here. Let's get Fawcett.
He said a missionary, yeah.
Let's get Fawcett in the building. Fawcett.
All right, family's going down now.
What's up?
Not on a.
Oh, wait. Before I start, let me just explain what the conversation is about. So you guys heard about the all-white town that's causing controversy and uproar from civil rights activists. You dig? So it's actually an acronym. It's RTTL. That stands for Return to the Land. It's a group for whites only, right? It's a settlement somewhere in Arkansas. This group violates, and I'll explain in a second, violates anti-discrimination laws. Federal and state laws prohibit housing discrimination on the basis of race, because it's supposed to be a white-only town, white-only property, white-only homes and things like that. Okay. And things like that, right? Okay. So so they can't do that based on race. So they're basically discriminating based on race. Also, they're discriminating based on gender, right? Sex and gender, and religion. Okay, and they want to return to segregation. Like, so this is some of the charges that they're getting back from the public. They want to bring back Jim Crow era concerns, right? So they are deliberately creating a whites-only enclave, right, as is widely seen as a return to the racial segregation of the Jim Crow era, which was dismantled by FBAs and our civil rights movement and our court rulings, obviously, in the mid 20th century. So opponents, right, argue that no community should be allowed to resurrect policies resembling Jim Crow segregation. So I see a lot of our FBA family saying they don't have a problem with this. Yeah, you don't have a problem with it because you're just talking. All right. Maybe you don't know your history. Maybe you talk about Black Wall Street, but don't really understand where it went and why it went. All right, Rosewood and other places. Right, 100 years of lynching. Yeah. All right. So be careful what you allow. Or say I got no problem with that. All right. So there's a reason why people looking like, what? Yeah, what's this? Like neutralize this immediately. You know why, family? We need it. I said this years ago. We need our never again moment, chant, whatever. The Jewish people don't let nobody, like they would even preempt this strike and call you anti-Semitic when you didn't even do anything yet. If they smell anything close to anti-Semitism, they will charge it on you and apologize later if it turned out, they jumped the gun. All right, because they don't want nothing to ever snowball into another Holocaust and the things they endured, the trauma they endured, the violence they endured in their history, their lineage. So same thing here, family. We don't want nobody. We should never want nobody saying anything remotely close to what we experienced 100 years in this country and over, obviously. When I say 100 years, I'm speaking of Jim Crow specifically, the era of Jim Crow, the system, legal systemic racism, right? And of course, you got plantations before then. So I just want to give that. So some say whites only. So the supporters say whites, and that's who Tariq's going to speak to. A supporter, whites. They say whites only thinking settlement is not constitutional under modern law. I'm sorry. Okay. So the pushback, it violates federal statutes that codify equality in housing, and it runs against the grain of 60 plus years of civil rights jurisprudence. All right. But anyway, that's like a little, now let's go for it.
A vindictive nature. But I want to ask about the nature of these communities in and of themselves, because I don't want to say I fail to see the issue. I just fail to see why this would be an issue in the private sector. Like back during the segregation days, like restaurants, obviously segregation with a restaurant.
Okay, so just pay attention to his words. He keeps saying private sector
is a problem because they take public money. You can't just, first off, you can't run a good business denying half your customers or denying like, a third of your customers out. It's not a good idea. The idea that segregation exists legally or is allowed legally in restaurants, movie theaters, it's preposterous. It makes no sense for a civilized society. I think we can all agree on that. However, this community that they're setting up is not opened to the public. This is private land that can then be applied to, and they can decide who can and cannot enter. So this goes from the public sector to the private sector. So the question I have for you is, when can we tell a private landowner, hey, you can't do that with your own private land on your own private property? Like a business like Walmart can't say no whites allowed because it takes public money. That makes sense. But when do we cross that line of now you're butting into a private landowner's business?
Private.
Well, the thing is, here's the problem. Well, when it's Black people, they violate our private businesses, our private land all the time. They'll say, hey, you know what? What do they call it? Eminent domain.
Yes.
They'll put that eminent domain shit on us all the time. We need this land. We need it. It was private, it's ours now. If it becomes too prosperous, if it becomes something that's going to make a lot of money, if it's something that's going to be successful, they got all types of little tricks that they run on us to bust that up. But they let these little white supremacist groups operate legal loopholes, and that sets a horrible precedent. Like I said, that could be the new
Shit, I hate when I do that.
precedent for segregation. So now we can say we're going to discriminate against these black people. Let's just
I don't know
privatize
how to get
the
rid of
land.
that
Let's just get
function.
this land, say that it's private, and have a word of mouth membership only admissions policy. That's how we can keep out the niggers. So that's an issue within itself, because then it becomes all about deprivation of resources,
Stand up. I'm gonna give you a lineage
deprivation of
wrench, like the video.
education. So
Subscribe.
then it becomes all about deprivation. If
Okay.
you want to do that, fine, but
Let me throw my.
give us the same resources to do something similar, which is not being done. So
Correct. So that's the line of logic I wanted to like at least explore.
Wait. Justify White Town. Tariq's going to respond, and then I'm going to respond, okay? This is a reaction. So private land doesn't give anyone a private constitution, right? That's what I'm trying to say, family. You don't allow it because it starts little and then it gains power, okay? You don't do that. So, it's private land, buddy. But when private communities start organizing around race and exclusion, that's the part he keeps skipping out. He keeps saying private, but he doesn't end exclusion. Okay, so now when you have the exclusion thing there, you're not just living privately, okay? They are creating a racially discriminatory system that echoes, it smells like Jim Crow. Therefore, it violates the spirit of civil rights law. We don't want anything close to that, right? The Civil Rights Act of 1866, still in effect, was created specifically to stop white landowners from what? Doing exactly what RTTL is doing, return to the land, right? So it was against that, and that was set up 1866. The landowners were denying Black Americans, FBAs, the right to own or use property like anyone else. Like that's kind of like your Jim Crow. So no, buddy, you can't build your own apartheid under our watch, your apartheid zone in Ozarks, just because you slapped private property on it, my boy. That doesn't give you access to create a Jim Crow, a mini Jim Crow. So now, if he just asks himself this, right, and he knows if a Black FBA group set up a no whites allowed, come on now, look, they're mad at CRT because CRT's critical race theory. Tariq should have asked him about that. Hey, do you support critical race theory CRT? Because CRT allows small groups for small spaces for non-white straight men, right? So people can get our thoughts together and they don't have Zaddy trying to undermine them and tell them what they're doing wrong, like they come in this chat. And they will be totally against that. They're against CRT. So I would just ask him, bro, do you support CRT? And he said, he gonna be like, no. And they say, why not? And while he give his points, watch he say, because Black people, not Black people, but because it offers a space for non-white people. So it's excluding, and that's their talking point. Charlie Kirk talks about that a lot, and that's why he hates it. But then he supports this. That's a contradiction. So private property isn't a magic wand that lets you just bypass the Constitution, civil rights laws, or anti-discrimination statutes, especially when you are building a settlement based on race. That's the part keep living out. Keep living that part out.
A little bit was like you also brought up the white supremacist talking point of like the 90 acres in Georgia with like the 17 Black families that made the they made like, what are those, like they made the houses like they seemed like it was like a neighborhood they were making or something like that. But you bring up that talking point of, oh, they the white supremacists look at that community and they say, oh, they're doing it the same as well. We both know they're not doing the same as well. The Black community is not excluding, but the logic I'm attacking is, if it's private land, what is the issue if they were to go ahead and exclude based off the privacy of the area, basically?
Because
hey, Donnie, my bad, yo. When I was live yesterday, the internet went out at the restaurant. I had a dope spot and everything, quiet. And you sent the super chat and I was going to read it, and then the internet went out. So yesterday when the live went out, because it was rocking, when it went out, I wasn't even done. I was like, oh, well, but the internet did not come back. That's the first time it ever happened there. So I was like, oh, well, it was 2 hours in anyway. We good. So, yeah, I forgot to read it. I didn't get a chance to. The internet went out.
Whenever they do that, there's always.
Wait, Lovejoy said she lost her white friend due to CRT. She's mad. Her white granddaughter come home upset for being white. I told her good. Yeah. It's like kind of fake upset. Like that's probably her. Maybe she did. See, that's kind of tricky because that might be her interpretation. But her granddaughter might have been holding their race accountable, right, for that type of.
An incident of violence. That's just like I said earlier. What if some black person wanders over there by mistake or just happens to go over there, and all of a sudden they're going to do what they used to do during Jim Crow? They start killing and lynching and then justify it by, oh, he was trespassing. He shouldn't have been over here at night. Remember, they used to put up signs saying, hey, if you black, don't let the sun go down on you in such and such.
Yes, sundown towns, of course, yes.
And James Lowen wrote a great book about that. So this is another version of that. In his book, Sundown Towns, they would advertise these private communities, and they would go in newspapers. You can look it up and say, hey, come on to this new suburban area. We got great housing. We live by a river. There are no Negroes. So this is that.
So then with that line of logic, would you then be against any membership that denies anyone based off of characteristics that cannot change? Like one of the big communities I see right now is 55 plus communities. You see them a lot in Las Vegas. You see them a lot in Arizona. They will not sell you a home or allow you to take on a mortgage unless you were over the age of 55, which is typical age discrimination. So if this same line of logic applies to race, would you then be in support of taking this line of logic and expanding it to where you can't do this based on age, you can't do this based on gender, so on and so forth?
Because it's different. There's no history of age lynching. So yeah, if you wander to a 55-year-old housing facility, yeah, you're not going to get shot in your damn head because you're 30. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
There's violence that come with these all-white enclaves every time. It's always undergirded by violence without any exception. That's the problem. And again, this is going back into Jim Crow. So we have to take this very seriously, because in order to enforce that, you're going to have to use violence. That is the issue. It's never, they try to make it seem like, oh, it's going to be one of these happy-go-lucky places. We're all going to be making Rice Krispie treats, singing Bruce Springsteen songs. No, stop bullshitting. These are going to be like militia enclaves, people running around there armed, people harming non-whites who try to come through for whatever reason. I don't want an Amazon driver to deliver a package there and he happens to be black and then they shoot him. Little shit like that. See, yeah, we can't have that.
Okay. And just one last thing, since we already covered race, we've already covered age. Would you then support, because of obviously if this gets taken up to the Supreme Court, they are going to have to rule that everything, they just can't have one or two. It's going to be every single thing. This is going to set a precedent to where clubs cannot discriminate based on anything that is protected. They're going to rule that immediately.
Right.
This is going to decimate not only race but gender relations in America as well, because you'll not be able to discriminate anyone based on the basis of gender. Would this set a good precedent of a civilized society by not allowing certain areas to be broken down by gender as well?
Like, what do you mean?
So basically, if this gets taken to the Supreme Court about the whites-only communities, we know how this is going to work. What's going to go down is they're going to say, no, this is unconstitutional. You can't only sell to whites. You can't sell only to a certain protected community. So thus, this is broken down. If they were only going to determine it based on race, fine. You win, right? But if this gets to the Supreme Court and they determine that every single membership, quote unquote, cannot be given discriminatorily towards a protected class like race, religion, age, so on and so forth, you're going to see a destruction of gender specific areas. You're going to see.
That you know, the dude is spitting a lot of fear. You know, oh, this gonna happen, that's gonna happen. A bunch of fear.
A breakdown of
I'm gonna come back and address all that.
Age areas. You're going to see a breakdown of protected areas.
So Kwame says, so FBA wants to integrate into a white-only town. Kwame, I don't even know. I'll put the link out there. I see you fishing. Let them have that shit. They're going to do it anyway. No. We ain't letting nobody have nothing. As I prefaced earlier, we need to stand strong and have our never again moment, just like the Jewish community, right? They exercise power. And we always brag about their power, their control on certain things in small numbers. I think we need to follow suit. We need to represent our never again moment. So I said earlier, anything that smells like anti-Semitism, they're on you and they're calling you an anti-Semite and they're blocking you from all type of social media just because it looked like it. Wasn't even anti-Semitism. It looked like it. You dig? It smelled like it. It walked like it, and you're blocked and banned, and they will apologize later, you dig, if need be. So we need to be the same way. We need to be preemptive strikers. Anything that smells like a violation of constitutional rights towards FBAs, like why you think, listen, we can't have it both ways. Why do we ask for laws specifically for FBAs if we're saying people just can do what they want to do because they're going to do it anyway? No, that's not power. We want laws passed to hold them accountable, and laws were passed, right? The civil rights laws were passed 1866 and 1965, 64, 66, 67, 68 to stop this from happening, discouraging it and making it illegal, even a fine or arrestable offense. So no, we are not going to let things snowball out of control because we believe they're going to do it anyway. And if they do it anyway, it can't happen. It's unconstitutional. But just follow Tariq. Listen to what he says because he's explaining, and the sister's going to come on too and explain how and why it's unconstitutional, and it can't happen. It just rips apart the civil rights laws, right? The U.S. Constitution. It just rips it apart. 1868 and 1968. It just rips it apart.
Based off of items you cannot change.
Isn't there already a breakdown of gender-specific areas now? What's gender-specific now?
For example, like some people have brought up gender-restricted gyms. They've already tried to fight on that one.
We just started
gyms, women-only gyms, not allowed to
miss much.
They've also done also the transgender thing's a very big thing as well. They're trying to go ahead.
I'm saying what's gender-specific because you got dude put on a wig. And he can go up into crunch and put on a dress with his balls jiggling out and do some squats and nothing can happen to him. Yeah.
Correct. That's usually the state protecting him, not the federal government. The federal government has made it very clear that they don't recognize that. But just that's my question is like, are we ready to see in America where for the first time in 60 years?
All right. So let me just address a few things because I was on mute. All right, so let's just go back to again, they're trying to equate private as though because something is private, it's above the law. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Let me just fix this thing. Man, let me fix this. I dropped something. 1 second, family. Yeah, so they're trying to about to fix that. All right, my fault. Okay, so so just because something is private doesn't make it above the law. And that's their argument, right? So they believe that, right? But the moment private land is used to build and organize racially exclusionary communities like RTTL, it stops being just about privacy. It's a little more. Okay, it becomes a little more. You gotta be quiet. You're gonna stay in here. Can't be running back and forth. So watch your cartoon. You're gonna watch it. Go. All right. Yeah, so like RTTL, which is Return to Your Land, it's the acronym for this all-white community. It stops being just about privacy once you say whites only. No privacy's out the door. And it starts being about civil rights violations. That's what I'm trying to tell Nikki. U.S. law, especially the Civil Rights of 1866, which protects all citizens' rights to own, lease, and use property without racial discrimination, even on private land. So private land is not exempt. Privacy does not give anyone the green light to rebuild on Jim Crow with a fence around it. You feel me? So here's the thing. What if someone bought private land to create a no Jews allowed town, right? Or no, but let's stick with that. Would he still define that as privacy? Right, you know what Jews are gonna say, anti-Semitism, right? So because that's not privacy, that's privatized racism, and it's still unlawful and un-American. It's against the law. That's the bottom line. We're not going to turn our back on just things that just against the law. Okay, so that's that. Anyway, so as you know, another bad faith example that he's using, and he said about the 55 plus communities, right? He said they exist under very specific federal exemptions in the Fair Housing Act, right? They're very scrutinized. They're designed to support seniors with age-based housing, okay? But they're not excluding people for something like race. I'm comparing these things. Okay, that has a very different and violent legal and historical legacy in this country. And that's what they were cooking him on. So they do. When you start excluding based on race, this country is the worst country ever to try to enact a white town only after their history on excluding the race. Now, tethers are not going to relate to that. I get it. Okay. So, yeah, that's a very different and violent legal and historical legacy in this country. Age-restricted housing doesn't stem from a legacy of systemic oppression. So all of the all of the examples he's giving about gym membership, also what else he say? Age 55. All these things, none of them have a legacy of violence, murder, marginalized, systemic racism, being in the crevices of it. Right. So, so that's the thing there. All right. Let's be there. So nobody is being lynched because they applied for that 55 plus senior thing and they weren't 55. Right. Nobody's being lynched because they didn't want to pay their membership or they was arguing they didn't get membership. So hate groups didn't target folks for those reasons. And that's the bad faith argument that he's, he keep resorting to. 1968, this is a moment for, to learn about the civil rights that were passed on behalf of us. And we fought to get them passed physically and groundwork, boots on the ground. Okay, so the Fair Housing Act, FHA, this is different than 1934 FHA, which is Federal Housing Act. Okay, so anyway, it prohibits, family, we got to hold them to the law. It prohibits discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, and familial status. Age-restricted housing for seniors is explicitly exempt under the Housing for Older Persons Act, HOPA. Okay, race-based exclusion is never exempt. All right, so let's just keep that in mind. Now, he said there's the idea that banning a whites-only community would destroy gender-specific clubs or senior housing. He said that, and that's a straw man built on fear. Like I say, he's just pushing fear. That's not something built on law. The U.S. legal system already recognizes that not all classifications are treated equally, so race-based exclusion is subject to strict scrutiny, the highest legal standards, the highest. This ain't the time to turn the other cheek. It's the time to fight. Okay, because it has a direct connection to slavery. So what they want to do, family, I got to wake up. I don't know if y'all might not be, I don't know, y'all say FBA, but y'all might not be. Okay, I don't know, man, but what they're trying to do has a direct connection to slavery, segregation, redlining, and systemic racism. So I don't want to smell nothing in my country that my ancestors built where that's being repeated, nothing remotely close. So gender and age, while also protected, are evaluated. Okay, they're evaluated under legal standards with well-established exemptions in housing, education, and club memberships. Okay, so racial discrimination is almost never permitted due to its uniquely violent and exclusionary history in America. Okay, so we cannot do that. So now he'll probably talk about women's shelters, girls' schools. Okay, but those are all allowed under Title, what's this, 6 exemptions when they serve a legitimate purpose. I talked about HOPA, Housing for Older Persons Act, and private clubs can limit access based on some criteria, like your age, dress code, but they are not operating as public accommodations or receiving federal funds. So just real simple, the law makes distinctions between protection categories because their histories and risks are different. Protecting someone from racial apartheid isn't the same as preserving a senior living community. Okay, so he's comparing public danger to private preference, and the courts already know the difference. So we can't just, oh, we're going to do it anyway. That's not how we operate as FBA. We don't have that spirit. Oh, they're going to do it anyway. No, because in that case, they were going to just do slavery anyway, right? In that case, they were going to just do Jim Crow anyway. No, we said something when we fought as the underdog. So civilized societies don't fall apart when they stop excluding people based on skin color. They just become more stable and equal. If you really think racial equality is the collapse of America, then maybe people versus America was always unjust to begin with, right? So we can't let that slide. Okay. So what else he said? I'm trying to think. What else he said? He said, let him go.
What do you call it? Civil rights have been tested to this extreme.
Okay,
and if the Supreme Court rules in favor of, the people, the minorities that did not get it applied, it would break down the rest of American memberships altogether, because that's how they're doing this. They're doing it by membership. They're not just saying, oh, get out of here, Asian. They're not saying that. They're doing it by a membership class. And that's literally the only way you can discriminate against people in your own private areas, if you make a membership class. So if the Supreme Court rules in favor of the minorities that apply to this place, every single place in America is going to have to accept everyone. There's going to be absolutely no point of having a membership anymore.
So they're not even talking about eminent domain. They're not even talking about that. And matter of fact, they addressed that. And even the white racists said eminent domain, it doesn't happen in the same bad faith nowadays, post 1968, as it did in the Jim Crow era. Like, it was clearly used to destroy black wealth cities and black wealth, urban renewal, things like that. So it was done deliberately to undermine what FBAs built in our country that no other black can say they built in their country. You dig? So we were undermined deliberately by eminent domain. Again, that's also gives, anti-FBA a type of smell when we hear eminent domain. But the way it's used now is not as blatant and disrespectful as it was during the Jim Crow era. But when you're a tether, you're not gonna know that.
Let me get my good brother Dr. Randy Short in. Dr. Short, hop on in.
Okay, so we're gonna get past him because he really just preached. Okay, he just really preached. But let me just respond for him. So what he just said earlier, that's not a test of civil rights. We said the civil rights will be tested. No, that is actually a test of how far people are willing to stretch the law to protect racism under the word membership, because you keep going to like stupid comparisons. Okay, so you gotta remember, this isn't about preserving private memberships. This is not about whether whites only communities can legally exist in 2025. That's not some innocent membership policy. Okay, that's a direct violation of civil rights law. And using the word membership or private as a smokescreen doesn't make it any less illegal or immoral. Right. So I talked about the 1866 Civil Rights Act And then the 14th Amendment guarantees equal protection under the law, and courts routinely block racial exclusion in housing. Right, so private clubs can restrict membership only if they keep bringing up clubs, only if they're truly private, not public in practice, not receiving public funds, and not engaging in racial discrimination, which is almost never allowed. So it keeps coming back to that. And to have a whites only town, you're saying certain races can't come. So no, striking down a whites only town isn't going to collapse golf clubs, women gyms, and senior centers. That's what he's trying to scare us. See, but if you stop us, then all these other private sectors will be shut down. No. What happens is by striking the whites only town is going to reaffirm what we already know. Okay, race-based exclusion has no legal shelter in a society built on equal protection. Okay, so we got to destroy the fair taxing. So everybody wants to, provide fear to scare us into complying. Okay, you got this with, you got it with immigration. Hey, if you don't join, you're next. Fear. If you don't vote, this gonna happen. We're gonna be, just ridiculous stuff. Everybody want to get support through fear. How about getting support through love and truth and fighting spirit? So if his only defense, and it is his only defense for exclusion, is calling it a membership. So he's not building a community. Okay, they're just trying to dress Jim Crow in a membership jacket, members only jacket. Right. So check this out. That's like saying the KKK could run public buses as long as they call them membership rideshare. Right. Courts see through these word games. It's the intent that matters. And if that intent is racial exclusion, it's illegal, period. Right. So civil rights has always been tested when people try to bend law to protect racism with clever language. But again, the courts aren't new to this game. We trust the courts. And history shows that when they rule in favor of justice, society doesn't fall apart. It evolves. So yeah, it don't just break down like he's trying to say. Yeah, but if you don't let us get this, yeah, okay, society's gonna change.
Off, okay. I think the issue is that
history of 1904 with the lynchings and stuff like that. I'm afraid of the future that is to come.
Back up.
The FBA movement have these associations.
Back up. You missed a big chunk. Don't do that.
Brought up all the way to the Supreme Court.
Got it.
Well, sir, it's very simple. It's very simple.
It's very simple. You don't get it. That's what's simple.
And that's why I'm trying to skip Dr. whatever his name is, because he's not going to do engagement.
Was brought up all the way to the Supreme Court. There would be literally no more protections for any memberships whatsoever. The movements that the FBA community have worked so tirelessly to bring up could be completely erased, because then you'd have frivolous lawsuits brought up to the FBA movement, to these associations, because, I didn't get accepted into it. My fear is that.
All right, so I don't know where Kwame is going, but I'm gonna let you call him, bro. Get the super chat. So I appreciate that, man. He supported the channel. I can't say he's not. So I'm gonna appreciate that. He says, taking clause of the Fifth Amendment states, nor shall private property be taken for public use. Brother, private property act. All right, so now you got to add some context to that. Plan had membership too. Yes, they did. Yeah, good point, showing enough. So again, like these are the pushback we can give them. NC Fact, mental, bro. These are some of the pushbacks that Tariq was giving them for South Wild, but he really ain't do good. Talking in circles for the most part.
By prosecuting this, you're going to end up with an America where there is no
fear factor.
I don't want to say no pride, but all the associations that the FBA movement have what's what I'm looking for, worked so tirelessly to maintain, will be just destroyed overnight with one Supreme Court ruling. So it's almost unadvantageous to go after this, because it could lead to even worse consequences down the line. No one can start their own club anymore. No one can start their own membership anymore unless they accept every single person. So that's the issue I'm having.
It's a bad faith issue, and you should not be having that issue. I already addressed that. None of those places you mentioned discriminate based on race. They discriminate age, dress code, things like that, but not race. So it just falls apart.
It is. It's not you don't know what you're talking about because you don't know the history of 1904 with the lynchings and stuff like that. I'm afraid of the future that is to come.
Okay,
if this happens. Continue.
Let me get out.
Yeah, for his future, he's afraid to come and getting wiped away. Like, no, it's not happening. So his future, there's no future. That's what his future is. There's no future for stuff like this. We're not going to tolerate this as FBAs. We're on code. We're the lineage. It ain't happening. Sorry. And he's trying to get us on his side. No, see? Yeah, you know what's funny? Before I play Tariq response, even the white supremacist family, they come to us for support. That's crazy, right? You know, we got, other non-FBA blacks. We got Latinos. We got Asians. We got Indians. We got all type of people, LGBTQIA+. Everybody comes to us for support, right, to get something done. And now we got white, but they tell us that, hey, man, you only make up 13% of the population. You guys you're weak. You don't own nothing, no infrastructure. And we got white supremacists coming to us to appeal to us for support. Hey, just back off, FBA. Let us do this. But this 13% population, we got some strength. He's appealing to us to back off so they can get it popping because he knows that we're going to say no. We're going to object to it, obviously, and put it to an end very quickly. We're going to stomp it out. He's appealing, he's debating us, like, please listen to this though. But how about this? Please, FBAs, please side with this. Please just back off and just let us do it. The Supreme Court is definitely going to block it if you guys say something. That's what he's doing.
Our sister love.
All right, so she's going to cook. I like this sister right here.
I am to join the conversation.
Go ahead, Love I Am.
Let me get her name again.
Test.
Hold on. Let me get her name.
You guys hear me or not?
She did good. 20 faces. Why not?
I am to join the conversation.
Test. Can you guys hear me or no?
Okay, I don't understand 20 faces. So 20 faces, you got to explain. I'm kind of like not on code. I'm not on the same page as you. You said we want to do it too. Let me give you the phone number. Maybe you can explain. I'm going to have Kwame call in after I play the Tariq thing. He could call in. Because I don't even know. Like, he's not even saying what he agreed with, what he disagreed with. He just typed this stuff. So I don't know if he's agreeing with us or he's agreeing with them. Let me just put this. But this phone number is for 20 faces. You don't have to call, but if you want to explain, what do you mean by we want to do it too? Yes, hold on. Hold on 20 faces. All right, so that, oh shit, I messed up. Faces. This is the phone number, and this is the access code. Hold on. Like I said, you don't have to call in. This is just in case you want to elaborate. Okay, so 20 faces said, I'm agreeing that we should be able to discriminate on race and build similar towns. That doesn't make any sense. Like, what part of history in this country did we ever discriminate on race? On anything? As a collective, as an FBA majority, when did we ever create something and discriminate based on race? Yeah, Don Jeter. So what did Kwame say? Kwame said FBA now fighting to be a part of white only town. Yeah, I don't even know what Kwame. What are you listening to? I mean, Tariq is debating the white supremacists, and what did he say that was inclusive to the all white town? Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, but brother, you're saying that, then you call in, and you be over there. I'm not trying to roast you, dude. But you're gonna roast yourself just by saying that. Like, that's not even part of their debate. Like, weird. But later, when it's done, you can call in and
we can hear
say that crazy stuff.
Yeah. Oh, he can't hear me. Dang.
Dang it. Tariq, I can hear her, but she can't hear, or you can't hear one of us. Sorry.
Ask him, can he bring me back up?
Okay, yeah. I hear you, love. I hear you now.
Oh, wait. Okay, so you both hear her?
So I don't know if maybe Fawcett stated his credential and I missed it. That's the basis for his perspective. I don't know if he's a lawyer or something. But the issue that I see here is that
Yeah. So you know, I'm gonna read Kwame. You know, he's super chatting. I'm definitely gonna read the message as long as it's not disrespectful. But like I said, I'm gonna send you the phone number, and once it's over, I don't even know like what you're arguing. It's like you got a new argument that's not even being debated. Yeah, so that's a super chat. If you guys want to send a message you want me to read for sure, and then the cash chat button is there just for a donation. That's just you got your support and you got a little extra. You just want like, hey Ron, take this and go do whatever. That's what the cash app is for.
because I don't if it went to the Supreme Court, it wouldn't be for the reasons that he's even outlining. I think that was what is going to happen, because he sounds like he has cognitive dissonance is what is happening here. It seems as if he's evading 350 plus years of shared history to make this argument. And so that's the issue that the doctor is having with his perspective, mine as well. And I would go as far as to suggest probably the...
All right, now 20 faces. All right, 20 faces. I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt that you're on code, you're part of the lineage, FBA Adolf Freedman. And I'm telling you, brother, the way you're talking, you're not coming off as one of us. You're not coming off as one of the lineage. So I'm going to read your message. Sam, let me know if I'm tripping. He said, we are, okay, he said, we're fighting these white supremacists. We want to be in their spaces so badly. Freedom of association is good. We want to be able to create FBA-only towns, exclude others. 20 faces, you want some Jim Jones shit, go do it, bro. But you ain't about to take my lineage with you. Yeah, I never heard it before until this show right here. She's definitely cooking. Yeah, so 20 faces, I don't know, man. I'm going to start asking you questions like, do you have a Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, and do you know about page 792?
Majority of the room, it sounds off, okay? I think the issue is that these white towns, how are they going to sustain themselves? How are they going to, it's going to have to come under, you have this group of people that has a history of domestic terrorism. You have a group of people who have had all of these massacres around the nation, which he just referenced one, and you took it back to Tulsa, which I think was weird as well. But my point is, the issue is, how are you going to keep these towns and communities? Because you're saying membership, but you have a group of people
you don't have that
who
book?
have a history of domestic terrorism,
That was for 20
brutalization,
faces.
and
Do you have the
genocide.
Black's Law Dictionary,
So
4th edition?
I would
And
think
do you have a
that the towns are going to
bookmark on
come
page
under
792?
some strict scrutinization. The argument is that you've never been able to do this without being violent.
See?
So it's not going to be,
So
it's
family,
not going to be about...
That's why I say, like, sometimes we say stuff, like I said, sometimes we say, because we do so much reading and so much watching videos and different YouTube content creators. So sometimes, guys, you are influenced by people, but you don't know who influenced them. So a lot of times you guys repeat alt-right talking points and don't know it because you heard somebody black say it, but that person got it from, Charlie Kirk or somebody. So be careful what you're saying. Like, listen to Sister Talks. She said, when you guys create these spaces, violence usually come with it. So you guys who are saying, yeah, I'm for this, but when they attack somebody or attack you or attack your son, you're going to want justice. But you're going to want justice. And then now you want to shut it down. But now it's too late because you let it go. It's there, and you just can't shut it down now. What would be the reason? You let it stand up.
About, can you do it? Because we know we can reference self-sustained Negro towns and communities all throughout history.
So Don Jeter with a big lineage love. Thank you, brother. Damn, I thought it said 999. My man threw 99.99. Thank you very much. He says lineage fund, studio fund. Oh, good luck. 60 on Amazon, 40 on the house. I got you. Hell yeah. Thank you for that. That's crazy. bad faith for sure.
But those towns and communities were bombed and flooded by our government. We had
no, the white town will fail. Okay, shit. So sure enough, guys, yes, the white town is not without violence. And like Tariq Nasheed gonna say later, they're gonna be eventually family. They're gonna walk around with guns and everything, and then you'll see. Just let them cook a little bit. We ain't even nowhere near the crux.
90% of our real estate stolen from us in a 60-year time frame. We also had our land, and Tariq referenced it earlier, seized by eminent domain, in which case that was them violating those these are private properties owned by citizens, and the government came up with fabricated reasons as to why they needed it more important than those private citizens. So that's going to be our argument against those towns, because if you're going to be able to have your towns and we weren't able to have our towns, then that's a discrimination on record. So but I think that what would be more concerning is, how are you going to do this without being violent as you have been violent? So that's a different conversation than someone just opening up a boys and girls club and only wanting children to be a part of it.
I can give you two reasons how it's going to change, or how it would be different nowadays. The problem is pre-1959, 1964, there was legal protection behind the concept of segregation. No one could sue you. No one could, request to take you to court. They'd be laughed at and thrown out. We now have black women on the Supreme Court. We now have black men on the Supreme Court. And not only that, the concept of using eminent domain to bulldoze a neighborhood in Chicago for a highway no longer exists in the purview of the federal government. What they're more concerned with is if crazy people want to go buy a plot of land 30 miles away from Chicago and start a 200-acre compound of their own people, as long as the tax revenue comes in, since the government can no longer give preferential treatment based on race, religion, gender, ethnicity, so on and so forth, it would literally make them more money to just put these compounds into a different tax bracket and accrue membership fees and tax them extra.
Okay, so now look where he's going. So he already had talking points. He was expecting pushback. He expected a lot of things that they're saying, but he's trying to go different angles. So now it's about money now. Watch this.
The violence that was associated with the 1920s, the 1930s, the 1940s, it no longer has a legal basis, even though murder does not have a legal basis.
Yeah, look at Jordan Neely. Yeah, you can go kill somebody who said something you didn't like and said he broke a social contract.
Family, he's literally appealing to us. He believes we're that powerful. People say FBAs ain't shit, and we got no power, but these white supremacists believe that we are the gateway to this all-white dream.
Yeah, they let Daniel Penny walk around free. Yes, it does. Yeah, you can still do that. This is what we're saying. And we don't have any protections as black people. We don't have no crime bill that protects us. And for them to try to set up an all-white enclave, that spells danger. There's absolutely nothing constructive about that.
Right. So, Don Judah, I'm definitely going to get a microphone, because the headset stuff ain't working for me, bro. So with that right there, I will get a microphone. Good looks. I appreciate that big time. It's definitely lineage love on the financial side, for sure, for sure.
Society. This is not like age
Black Law 792.
Protecting people based on age. A senior center, that's something that's going to protect somebody.
Yeah, I
based
agree,
on their
Don
age.
Judah.
You get old, you need a place to stay. There's nothing wrong with that. A women's center, you talk about gender and sex. If a woman is being abused, there needs to be a place where a woman can be safe if she's being abused. That's what a women's center is for.
Okay.
A whites only enclave, the only reason for that is to prepare for some type of violence. There's literally nothing constructive
it just
about
keep
that.
coming back to
What
that,
is constructive about excluding black people? Because
I can give you three different I don't want to say benefits, but reasons.
Okay, so before you do that, let me give my little 2 cents in real fast. So a lot of white supremacists like to bring up the fact that there's a black person, there's a black face in politics, there's a black face in, let's say Supreme Court, there's a black face as a manager, or even as a president, a black face. Oh, see? So, and we know that's bad face. They know it's symbolism, right? Yeah, because you could put a black face in high places, but that does not erase systemic racism, okay? Or it doesn't erase legal accountability. So these people faces are there, so the show still will happen, right? One person can't do much. Now put a whole team of them in these positions, and when I say black faces, I'm talking about FBA, and you'll see a real change, right? So having a black Supreme Court justice or mayor doesn't mean racism is over, and they do that on purpose, and they'll point to that and say, "Ain't no racism. What are you talking about? Your mayor, the chief of police, is black. It ain't no racial profiling." But and look, the perfect analogy is that's like saying the presence of a black quarterback, right? Lamar Jackson. So that's like saying Lamar Jackson debunks racism in the NFL, right? So powerful individuals don't cancel out discriminatory systems, right? They also don't give you a green light to build a whites-only racial enclave. Look, you had a black president, so now we get to go ahead and do all this crazy Jim Crow stuff. Here's the facts. The Constitution and civil rights laws don't stop applying just because a town is rural or pay taxes. Because that's what he was trying to get to. But they make some money and taxes and all that type of stuff. I keep going back to the civil rights of 1866 and the 14th Amendment. They explicitly prohibit race-based property exclusion, no matter how remote the location is, bro. You don't care where it's at. So you can't legalize segregation by putting it on private land or giving it a fancy name like membership compound or RTTL. Okay, so RTTL isn't just some off-the-grid dream. It's a direct attempt to build a 21st century sundown town, right, with exclusion based on skin color, no values or behavior. Family, I didn't go. So when this is over, I'm gonna finish reading about the back story of RTTL because they didn't discuss that. I'm not sure if Tariq knew, and the guy definitely knew, but he didn't bring it up because he'd have been done. Okay, so back to the tax thing. So claiming that tax revenue justifies racial separatism is like saying slavery was okay because cotton was profitable. What are you saying? Right? So economics never excuses injustice, and it never will, right? The absence of visible violence doesn't mean something isn't racist. So he went to that. Oh, but yeah, there was no violence over here. That don't mean racism isn't brewing and about to erupt to violence, right? So modern racism, what we deal with today, racial profiling don't always end up with a police beating or a shooting or things like that. You just get a ticket. Racial discrimination, job discrimination don't always end with a lynching on your way back home. No. But the outcomes are the same: exclusion, inequality, and legal backlash. All right. So you can't use the tax revenue to justify building a community around skin color. That's not economics. That's apartheid with a bank account. All right. Racism isn't cured by geography or taxes. Right. It's confronted by law, history, and moral clarity. And no matter how you spin it, a whites-only settlement in 2025 is nothing but a repackaged segregation scheme volcano that's about to erupt with just pure violence and negativity, 100%. There's nothing productive that's going to come out of that the American public can benefit from. That's going to outweigh the violence that come out of it.
Number one, cultivation of one's own culture.
Okay, so I'm all right. Don, you to back in there again, brother. All right, this guy is definitely. I don't know what to say, but my man is definitely appreciating the channel and the information. And it looks like to me like he's loving the spirit in here, the love that's in here. We together produce a loving chat, right? A loving connection where we call ourselves different things in the chat. Some of us say ADOS, some of us say FBA, and some of us say freedmen. Some people say African American, Black American, just black, right? But it doesn't matter because we all agree that it's all about the lineage, right? Because all of those acronyms and names just freedmen. They just describe the lineage. So I'm above like the acronym, right? I get to the crux. Like, well, are you up the lineage? Once you say yes, I'm good. You call yourself an alien, a more science, citizen. I'm okay. FBA. So Don Jeter says, keep doing, upgrade, and keep going more. Oh yeah, 100%. And that right there is motivation. So let me see. So hey, I'm definitely get a microphone. Let me see what else I'm gonna get. I'll think of something. So microphones for sure. The Don Jeter going in. He's definitely Claire. I see before I see you out there, Pinky. All right. Yeah. So let's continue, chat. Yep. So so I like this style because they say, hey, you talk over the video. All right. So I'm gonna let the white guy say something, Tariq or Sister rebut, and then I'm gonna give my rebut.
I use race and ethnicity almost interchangeably, but for example, let's say a group of Somalians in Minnesota want to go make a Somalian-only community where you can only speak they buy 200 acres and they go make a Somalian-only community. Somalia is not a majority in America. These Somalians, if they so choose, should be able to go and preserve their own culture on 200 acres of private land in which no public money can be spent on the cultivation of said property. Once you start getting into the public sector, it's a little bit different. But the preservation of culture should be one of the many benefits of having these private, quote unquote, membership compounds.
No. Can I please say something?
Go ahead, love.
So that argument was erroneous. I don't know if he heard the doctor when he literally said, see, white is not a biological identity, it's a social construct. So all of these groups that fall under this white racial construct, they don't even have their shared culture is domestic terrorism, and that's what's going to be scrutinized. Let me finish what I'm saying. The shared culture that you have, the Irish, the Italians, the Germans, the only thing you all have in common is your pale skin, your history of giving a status of white identity here in America, and a culture of domestic terrorism behind it. So what's going to happen is that when you go to make your argument that you want to preserve culture, there's going to be an examination into what that culture is. And so you won't get to hide behind this romanticized view of your own culture, which is ethnocentrism, steeped in ethnocentrism. You're going to have to deal with the reality that you don't have a shared culture outside of the domestic terrorism and harm of other groups. In which case, even if you wanted to say those other groups are violent, you therefore want to protect yourself against them, the violence of your own, it's always going to go back to that. That's why I'm saying you're not going to be in court making the argument that you think you're going to make because you don't have it's not the level playing field that you're trying to frame it as. It's always going to go back to this group who is indigenous. Mind you, pale-skinned people are not indigenous to anywhere on earth. So anytime you become a majority anywhere, it was behind a genocide. It's behind a mass extermination of human populations.
Ma'am,
So
I do want to go ahead and just interject real quick.
And then on top of that, you were given the status of white to essentially bolster you from having any adverse experiences due to your skin color. So now when you're talking about wanting to preserve something, the question is going to be, are you preserving that history of one directional terror that you have done in this nation? And so an argument is going to say these people are not fit to have and on. This is literally just playing into this psychopathic, sociopathic, ideological framework that has characterized their existence in this nation for 400 years. That's the argument against it. It's not going to be an argument that, it's not.
Say I'm a Somalian man.
Wait. Okay, go ahead.
And I have a Somalian wife. I have my Somalian family.
Somali people, white is a social construct. A Somali identity is their nationality, and one may argue that it would be their ethnic identifier here in America if they are Somali American. But you all constructing an identity of a status that was appended to the European peasants upon arrival, that is different. And what I'm saying is that status was appended to those European peasants so that they can take status over all non-white persons here in this country. And it was done with violence.
Correct.
So
but
there is no protection against those non-white persons. And you don't have a track record of not being violent to get that done.
See, that's the thing, family. They don't have a track record of doing that. They don't have a good behavior track record of getting together, having fun, and not thinking about us in a crazy way.
Correct, but saying the opposite.
Wait. So before he go, so there's a difference between celebrating culture and excluding race. See, see, the excluding race part, I want them to, she's cooking, but I think that word needs to be being brought up the same way he keeps trying to bring up membership in private. Like he keeps trying to stamp that in their head, right? So they should be back stamping equally, but you're excluding based on race. Okay, so what Somali Americans might do to preserve language, religion, or cultural practices is not the same as what white nationalist groups are doing when they want to build a whites-only community, right? It's totally different setups and structures. So culture is inclusive and voluntary. Race-based exclusion is discriminatory and often violent in origin and intent. So, dude, you want to make us feel a certain way, like ease up on you, then practice right now without that white town. Practice getting together with other white folks, and you just love, everybody, and you just inclusive when people come through. You show, hey, how you doing? Show that for about 20, 50 years, and then get back to us. But a Somali community may celebrate language, food, faith, and traditions, but there is no evidence of Somalis saying no black people, no white people, no Latinos. Only Somalis can live here, right? That's not part of that. All right. A whites-only compound like RTTL, right? Return to the land, explicitly targets exclusion. He won't even deny that. And it exclude by skin color, not values or language. Cultural affinity is not the same as legal segregation. So a Somali cultural center is not the same as a 200-acre gated racial purity zone. One is community, the other is apartheid, like literally. So Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act, Fair Housing Act, makes it illegal to refuse to sell or rent a dwelling to anyone based on race. That was even struck down in 1917 when they did that, the zoning laws. So even on private land used for housing, so that's even illegal on private land. You cannot refuse to sell or rent a dwelling to anyone based on race, private or public. Okay, and the 1866 Civil Rights Act did the same thing. So race does not equate, it's not on the same level as culture in the eyes of the law. Okay, culture may influence behavior. Race is an immutable characteristic historically used to deny rights, right? Y'all just got a dirty history, man. You got to clean that history up with the future, with the present. Start cheering behind us with reparations, you dig, and shit, you be like, hey, go get your white towns. Okay. So you don't, they don't get to recreate Jim Crow by slapping the word membership on your gate. Okay, so you can't just do that, man. So if your purpose is to celebrate Somali food, language, and community, that's culture. If your purpose is to keep people out because they aren't white, that's racism. So America protects cultural expression. It does not protect racial exclusion, creating as culture. One builds bridges, the other builds fences.
Direction that this was not just a couple of weirdos in Springfield, Missouri, but this was a gathering of brothers down in Georgia, 400 deep, that would want to go and start their own 200-acre community. By not allowing this community to exist based off the precipice of race, wouldn't it be antithetical?
But it would be based off, you're making a disingenuous argument.
Go ahead.
You don't have anything in this country that suggests that you are experiencing something because of your race. You literally were given the status of
right. You were the violators, bro.
So that you didn't have to experience America as pale, if you really want to be honest, as the European peasant. With that being said, if a Negro town, so let's go back to these self-sustained towns and speak to their function in the America that I just outlined.
Yes.
These towns were done out of survival, and it's
Yeah, she is
literally
cooking.
the solution to.
And they were created because of exclusion. They were created through exclusion, and they were deprived, just daily necessities.
What we have been dealing with by other groups is
Night
that we need
riding.
our
They do
dollar. We
coke,
need to be
do
able to
all
own
the
our
time as
production and have
well.
our dollars
Yeah,
circulate
but cokes
within our
are,
collective.
aren't
That's
they
why
illegal,
we
night
have
riding?
this
Wouldn't that be
this
easier in
generational
a
wealth gap.
wouldn't that be easier in a community that you own all membership to?
And this is the thing, we don't even want to live by the look. Let me
Yeah.
stop, because
Yeah,
we
got
don't
two
even
nuts
want
of
to
kids.
live by
Fact.
y'all, to be
Don
honest.
Jr.
So like, you're not the issue.
Yep, politics, baby.
You can have
Fact.
the town. It's just the
Law.
concern is
Yes.
y'all are violent as. I don't even know how to say it in a more formal, politically correct way. You're violent as.
Go ahead.
What's going to keep you from slaughtering the black
Yeah, white is
Amazon
an ethnicity though. Twin faces, 20
delivery
faces.
driver that's assigned to that neighborhood?
Two reasons. I can tell you two reasons. Number one, there is no longer any
Right,
federal
Portland.
protections
They got
for
erased
segregation publicly in any way, shape, and form. And secondly,
okay, listen to this.
Murder is
So
illegal.
Do
So
you think Negroes should find security? You think that after 400, that's why I referenced the 400 years of shared history.
yes.
Nobody is finding security unless they want to offer, juxtaposed to your white towns, if they were offering protected class citizenship for Negroes, if they were offering things like that, then that would literally maybe that would probably level the playing field. If they were offering the land back, that the land that was stolen from
Ron
us
DeSantis
back,
trying to erase
and
slavery
saying,
altogether.
here,
Yeah,
you can
they try
have
that.
this as
Those
well. That would
conservatives,
level the playing, juxtaposed to
or
what
they
you
water
guys
it
got
down.
going on.
So
But
you would
just
be
for
okay
you,
with these. So you would be okay with these communities as long as they are separate but equal.
the issue is, how do you evade 350 years? You have white men online right now complaining that their white town wasn't featured in TMZ. And so you got people who feel victims
Damn.
because they didn't have a feature in a magazine.
I
But
need
you're
her over
telling me
here.
that these same people wouldn't feel like a victim if they historically had 90% of their real estate stolen from them and then watched.
I apologize.
I'll leave it alone. Because yeah,
No worries.
it's
No worries.
just, you're making it's
Nah, well, to be fair, I got like a notice, like a content creator had like put me on notice. Like they saying I played some of their video. It did. I may be too long. So I'm sorry. I'm not trying to get demonetized. I just got monetized. You dig? So yeah, I got to talk, man. I can show you. I don't know. They didn't make it a strike yet, but he put me. I just deleted it because there's a video I didn't even care about. It was about Tariq Nasheed supporting Ibrahim Tariq as long as he stays over there and does his thing in Burkina Faso. So and that video wasn't even it. I did it early. Nobody really seen it. So I'm like, dude, if you're trying to flag me for this, can I use some stuff? I just deleted it. And like the content creator, he was in the video that had nothing to do with that. Like he was doing something else and it was like suspect, and I just addressed that and he gave me like a warning or something like that. So yes, listen, these people, some people are just petty and I gotta protect the channel.
It's the fact of it's the fact of I know what the benefit would be. The benefit would be, and I know this sounds horrible, but I find that the FBA movement and the Heritage American movement, and I know it sounds like pseudo segregation-y, but because we don't have legalized public segregation no more, the concept of independent private towns in which people of their own culture can coexist peacefully within themselves, it doesn't sound ridiculous. It only sounds ridiculous when you have this plurality of, oh, you can exist in our society, but you can exist and live in this town, but you can't go shop at that grocery store. You can't go shop at that movie theater. That's where it hurts. That's where it starts stinging, you know?
Fawcett, now let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Okay, so before you ask, again, thank everybody who, not everybody, but those who sent super chats, even Kwame and everybody else, Don Jeter. Thank you very much. Also, those who haven't sent the super chat, the Cash App is still there too. So you know what I mean. If you don't have a message, you feel like you need a message, you don't have one, then that's what the Cash App is there for. I know everybody feel like they got to send a message, okay? But or maybe you don't want it to be public. Okay, then the Cash App is private, like this white gal.
Because you keep mentioning preserving culture.
Yeah, she's definitely smart, well educated.
What is white culture, and what are they preserving in white culture?
I'm not. What do you call it? When I'm arguing this point? I'm not arguing white culture. I'm arguing all of them together. It's not I'm going to let these. Because here's the thing: if you apply this to the white, go ahead.
No.
Yeah, explaining.
This place
just
is
answer the question,
preserving
buddy.
itself and presenting itself as a whites-only enclave.
Correct.
Preserve white culture. What is
correct?
What is that?
Violence.
It's a place where people of European descent can go live amongst their own people peacefully. It's the same exact thing. That's why I kept bringing up Somalians, bring up Ghanan. If we had 200 different enclaves of different nationalities, would there really be an issue? And to my argument, it'd be no.
But what are you preserving? What's white culture? You haven't told me what.
No, the guy is okay. So Muck, the guy is saying it correctly, but there's just no way to say it where it doesn't come where you. There's no way to say it where it's not unconstitutional. That's what he's trying to struggle with. So if y'all think he's making sense and you can do better, I don't believe so. He can't verbalize it. He cannot express it without sounding like it's unconstitutional, which it is. So he has no other words to make it seem like this is okay. He tried Somali. He tried, hey, this town could do taxes and build it up. Hey, this town is membership. Hey, this town is, no different than 55-year-old senior citizens. See, there's no way to explain this dream, right? This without just sounding racist. You dig? So he's trying his best to not sound racist and use racist words, but also pitch this as it's a safe haven for whites who just want to be around whites, who want to be around whites. That's his issue. It's not that he can't verbalize it. He is. It's just no way to verbalize it without sounding like a blatant racist.
What's being very preserved careful in this all-white enclave?
What's Ghanan culture?
Okay? So here we go again. Mr. Free. No, who said that? So Mr. Free said they already have all-white states. I'm lost. Okay, so this is when I provide the phone number. Let me help you find your way. Okay, so hold on. Let me play Tariq.
What's Egyptian culture? What's German culture?
Okay. So now he's deflecting.
What's white culture? You haven't told me what's being preserved in this all white enclave.
What's Ghanan culture? What's Egyptian culture? What's German culture? That's not the argument. The argument is, if these people have the money.
No. That's literally the whole purpose of them building this enclave. They want to preserve white culture.
Okay.
With what?
And okay. Again, defining what culture is a quagmire most people shouldn't go dip their toes into, because then it will go down the route of what's Muslim culture, what's Christian culture, what's women culture.
Tariq gonna cook and watch.
Muslim culture is building a mosque, praying 5 times a day, not eating pork. There's some well-defined things that defines Muslim culture. When people say they want to go somewhere where they can preserve Muslim culture, that means they want to go pray in peace, and that's understandable. That's something that's well defined.
So then why is that a problem for them to make their own enclave?
Look,
that's not a problem. If you want to go pray, if you have a culture that you can define, it's religion.
So then by your logic, these people should then it would be okay if they decided to get 500 acres in the middle of nowhere, Michigan, and start their own society. There would be no issue with that, correct?
But they're not discriminating based on race. If people want to come and convert to Islam, they can come.
They can do that.
Place where you can worship Islam.
Correct. But the problem is, with the argument of this going to the Supreme Court, is that if you're going to argue race, you have to argue now every single protected class is now unable to make its own membership in its own society.
But the thing is that, we're talking about culture.
Yeah, he just bad.
What's the culture? What's white culture? What can you argue that what's actually being protected?
Individuals of European descent. It doesn't have to be more than that.
Yes,
we can even discriminate more. The Amish can discriminate. I could not describe to you what Amish culture is.
Okay,
It's not.
but that's the case. Like Dr. Randy Short, he has British ancestry. He's black. How come he can't get protection? He has European descent. A lot of people can pull up a DNA test and show some European descent, but we're not going to get protection and admission into these places. So how is European descent culture?
And that's great because
he didn't.
If this was in the public sector, you would need to define that. You would need to define legally what is a European, what is a Somalian, what is an FBA, what is a Christian. The problem is, though, is we're not talking about the public segregation sector. We can all agree that segregation in the public sector is bad. We're talking about private segregation. They can just say that a Muslim's a guy that's 6 feet tall. They're not wrong because that's what their own private business is saying.
Let me get
let me start right. Wait, who are you gonna get?
Marcel in here, brother Marcel.
Okay, so before brother Marcel come in, let me say something. Okay, so again, he's not defending culture. He keeps acting like he is. He's defending controlled segregation just with a PR spin. He's trying to sound good, make it sound good. So there's a big difference between a cultural movement like you could say FBA, advocating for recognition, right? We're advocating delineation, cut the check, and everything is about repairing, historical injustice, things like that, reparations. And that's a big difference from an all-white town trying to recreate segregation under the guise of peaceful coexistence. Oh, we just want to have fun and, make Rice Krispie treats and mayonnaise sandwiches. Okay. So one, FBA is about justice and equity, and the other, the white supremacists, are about exclusion and supremacy. So now, FBA is about heritage, FBA, let me say this, FBA and let's say heritage American movements. They're not the same. So FBA and heritage American movements, all right? FBA, we center on repairing historical harm for slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, et cetera, right? Heritage American movements are dog whistles for white nationalism, protecting whiteness, not justice. Big difference. So the heritage American movement, these are some white supremacist enclaves. So, comparing a push for reparative justice to gated whites only settlement, it's just not a good comparison. It's a bad faith comparison. So, but it doesn't sound ridiculous to him because he's not the one being excluded. That's why it just makes so much sense. So you're not the one whose grandparents. He's not the one grandparents who were lynched for stepping into a white town, right? Or chased out. Okay, you're not. He's not the one who knows that private segregation was the plan B when Jim Crow lost in court. Right. So when Jim Crow's out, they established some other BS. I talked about restrictive covenants. Like, how that came about? That came about because zoning laws was struck down as racism and discrimination it was struck down in 1917. So now you got restrictive covenants. So they always come back with something slick. Right. So private segregation isn't new. Right. After Brown versus Board, white segregation is what did they use? They used private academies. They gated housing with racial covenants. I just spoke about that. Whites only membership clubs, so-called voluntary relocation. Okay. So what RTCL? Okay, that's what they do. That's what it's called. Return to your land. So what they do and others, it's not a new solution. It's the same problem, just with a new outfit. Like they're trying to just repackage it. Okay, well, let's try it again, but now let's use AI to help us describe it in a way where the American public can embrace it. So when their version of peaceful coexistence requires fences, locked gates, and racial exclusion, that's not coexistence, bro. Again, that's like some type of apartheid, just rebranded. All right, we don't need new towns built on the fantasy of racial harmony through separation. We just need justice, equity to delineate, and that's it. Okay. So that's where we stand. But okay, so he keep bringing up the group membership analogy. All right, this isn't about banning all. Because he said when it goes to court, they're going to ban all group memberships. No, that's fear talk. That's supremacy babble. All right, this isn't about banning all group memberships. It's about banning racial segregation, which is held to a higher legal standard for a reason. Race is a suspect classification under U.S. constitutional law, buddy. meaning any policy involving racial exclusion must meet strict scrutiny. We just can't have people in the chat saying, what's the problem? We'll do our own. Sure you will. If we can't even get on code. How we talking about we're going to do the same thing? We can't even get on code. We got Roland Martins out there. And people can't, Crockett, Jasmine Crockett. Okay, so, and Candace Owens. So the highest legal bar, right? That's because race has been used historically to justify slavery, lynching, redlining, and legal segregation. Okay, the courts treat it differently than other categories like age, gender, and religion. The things he keep bringing up because they're different. Those things don't have a violent history. All right. So anyway, so saying all protected classes are equal in legal treatment is like saying all crimes carry the same punishment. They don't, and that's for a good reason, obviously. So private clubs can still exist. Women's shelters still exist. Senior centers still exist. None of those are built around historical oppression or exclusion of other groups. A whites-only town, that's not membership. That's today's, Jim Crow. So he's not trying to protect membership. He's trying to protect exclusion, and the Constitution just simply doesn't grant that right, okay, just because they want to call it, quote unquote, private. Okay, so this is not a slippery slope that he keeps trying to make it out to be. Well, see, I don't know, because then this happens, and a domino effect come over here, and then this happens, and then before you know it, nobody can stop. Okay, it's a firm legal line. Race-based exclusion is not protected and never has been. It's not the beginning of the end of freedom. It's the end of people trying to use freedom to justify modern day Jim Crow.
Hop on.
Hey, Tariq, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well. So, Fawcett, I have some things to say to you. First of all, I'm a fan of voluntary separation. Let me be very clear. Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, we've spent most of our time in this country trying to get the hell away from y'all. When after the Civil War, we asked to get land and for y'all to leave us the hell alone. Y'all never left us alone. We built Black Wall Streets. Y'all came to our Black Wall Streets and often burnt them down. So voluntary separation is something that foundational Black Americans have been trying to practice all along. It's been white Americans who have been against voluntary separation. Now, segregation I don't like, because segregation is imposed by the government. Yes. I don't feel
Right. So hold on, let me read. So bro said true or false. When we're left alone, it's a defense. When you guys are left alone, it's a threat. Yeah, so you agree with 20 Faces that he agree with Marcel.
So the federal government should be telling people where they can and cannot go in a country,
792.
especially foundational Black Americans that we have built. Voluntary separation is different. So if these white people want to buy some private property and set up their own little enclave, get the hell away from us, fine with me. But here is the problem. Those same white people will argue against foundational Black Americans setting up funds to fund our campaigns. Every time I spoke about reparations, and I spoke about us as foundational Black Americans getting together and fighting for what we are owed, those same white people who claim they want to be left the hell alone, they are up in my mentions telling us what we don't deserve. If they want to be left the hell alone, then leave us the hell alone. They don't do that. Every time that foundational Black Americans start organizations and we're financing initiatives to help our people, those same white Americans who are saying they want to be left the hell alone are the same ones going to the courts trying to sabotage what we have going on. So I call out the hypocrisy of these white Americans who claim they want to be left the hell alone. They're the first ones who go to court to stop anything that foundational Black Americans do to try to help ourselves. They're the first ones who will talk about grievances of the government, talk about DEI and affirmative action, which has helped 100%. White Americans the most. And if you look at it historically speaking, white men have been helped by what you can call affirmative action, DEI the most. Those same white Americans will go to court and talk about government intrusion while ignoring all the government intrusion abuse that has been levied against foundational Black Americans that we are now calling to get compensation for. Those same white Americans are the ones who argue against membership when foundational Black Americans are saying that, hey, let us have our thing. You can have your
Peace,
thing, but
Barkley
we're going
Boy
to have our
3. I'm gonna throw a
constitutional rights
wrench at you, bro.
protected.
It's called a lineage
Those
wrench. Just
same
like the
white
video.
Americans will come and
Are
say,
I
no,
supposed to
no,
like the
no,
video?
that's
I ain't even
discrimination.
check.
That's reverse racism. So you need to be making this argument to your fellow white Americans, whether they're heritage white Americans, I know that phrase, or not. You don't need to be making that to us, because foundational Black Americans have had no issues with voluntary separation. We were thriving until y'all imposed yourselves upon us. That's where the problem started. When hold on, because you've been talking for a very long time. So hold on. Please. When we organize ourselves to get things popping, those
is like
same white
kryptonite
Americans
to
who say we want to be left the hell alone, they come and bother us. So why can't they leave us the hell alone? And what's going to happen with these communities, which I, in essence, I'm not against, those same white Americans are going to get together and they're going to try to say, well, that black neighborhood down the street that's not bothering anyone, let's go down there and bother them now. That's the problem. They want to be left the hell alone, but they don't leave anyone else the hell alone. They want to talk about
when
the
they get
grievances
drunk
of the
and
federal
high,
government,
messed
how the
out,
federal government has
they'll
done
start.
this against them, yet we have 400 years of.
I won't talk over the video. They will start pouring into our neighborhood. Yeah, so talking over the video never sounds good, by the way. When I watch my playbacks, you can't even hear me. So I'll be careful. If I talk over the video, it'll be an ad lib, like, yeah, but I won't try to make sense. So if I talk over the video, it'd be an ad lib. It won't be going further. It won't be trying to make sense because you really can't hear me.
Of history of the federal government abusing us, and we say the federal government needs to treat us with the same respect and the same justice they treated other people, which means reparations. Those same white Americans will rally against our fight. So if they want to be left the hell alone, leave us the hell alone. Because when we want to be left the hell alone, it's based on justice,
Marcel, you're talking
it's
in
based
circles.
on righteousness. That's a part of Black American culture. You can't define white American culture. I can define Black American culture.
Right. Hold
it's about civil rights. It's about innovation. It's about the beauty of arts. It's about soul food. It's about the strength of families sticking together even when you're under the most oppressive conditions. I can define Black American culture. It's about respecting all people. When these Black towns in Texas and Georgia are popping up, they're not saying other groups can't come there. The reason they even want these towns is because those same white Americans who want to be left the hell alone are often terrorizing them. That's the problem, and not terrorizing them as in street violence all the time.
And what about the fact that, like, realtors are just, so we acting like realtors don't purposely sell homes in certain areas, right, to certain ethnicities. Like, there's a reason. Family, do you think it's by chance that in New Jersey there's like blocks and towns just like we can actually say that's a Spanish town, that's a Black town, that's a Jewish town. Like we could do that in Jersey. That's a Chinese town, Indian town. We can literally do that in certain cities. In for example, you could say North Brunswick, white, Hispanic and Black, and you could say East Brunswick, white and Indian, and South Brunswick, more white. But you can easily just do that in New Jersey. So, but how is that possible? How is it possible that everybody, all these ethnicities buying houses? No, a realtor is going to, they're purposely like showing them homes near people who look like them because they know naturally people want to live around people who look like themselves. So most likely you'll buy this house because I got it near people who look like you. But if I bring you to a nice house that looks like that, but these people, but your neighbors look nothing like you, the house don't look so attractive at that moment. I'm sure that's how they be thinking. But so it's planned. It's not. It's the realtor. The agency is not necessarily like FBA is doing that.
The time, but terrorizing them is that they are the ones who have institutional power and access to institutional power, and those institutions do not serve us and have not served us for centuries and have yet to make the repair that they need to do.
Yeah.
So I'm all for people want to be left the hell alone.
Yeah, and then they get fundings and we get denied FHA loans like that. That's a whole nother topic. I'm gonna save when I debate that Black conservative again.
But those same white people who will form these towns, because it's their private property, go ahead, do your thing. They won't leave other people the hell alone, and you know that's true.
So, and the one thing, go ahead, Tariq. Sorry,
bad faith argument. You about to say?
Thank you. I was thanking Brother Marcel. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Marcel did good.
the one thing I will say, and the one thing that I believe that will ease these tensions, right? Because
oh, family, what happened to Tariq mutes people? What happened to he don't let nobody talk? This guy ain't been muted yet. You see? I hope tethers are listening. When you are respectful, see, when Tariq asked this heritage American to stop, he stops because he understands. Yeah, I'm on your platform. I'm a guest. I'm gonna behave like a guest. We're not co-equals, co-owners. This ain't the Tariq and Forsett podcast. So this dude exercising like great, just behavior, great guest behavior, and we just want the same over here. Say stop, relax. For the most part, Kwame is a decent guest when it comes to that. He's respectful, but I can't say that about most people who call in. And I'm telling you, I do the same thing. When I call on somebody else's podcast, you'll see me sound like this guy. And I mean, I'm very respectful. I just ask for the same respect over here. When I say stop, stop.
The one thing I believe that would actually ease these tensions is if this did go to the Supreme Court. And I know obviously I keep bringing up the Supreme Court, the decision, blah, 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 blah. What does it have to do with the price of rice in China? Why should I care? It's not the fact of, oh, yay, pro-white, whatever. The issues that he just brought up of, every time, an FBA community pops up, these, crazy dudes from down the street want to come up and start violence. If everyone in America was given a final say on what we can and cannot do, I genuinely believe that the tension that has been caused by this one group in Springfield, Missouri, would finally be eased. There wouldn't be peace, complete peace. There never will be complete peace. But this tension, this, I don't want to say vindictiveness, but this belief of DEI in the white communities would probably be quashed a little bit if the Supreme Court finally gave a final decision on
there you go.
Who can go ahead and make their own communities, who cannot make their own communities. Why are the Amish okay? Why are the Muslims in Tabarok, Michigan okay? But why not us? If we could finally, and I mean both FBAs and Heritage Americans, if we could finally get an actual answer to what is okay to make your own private land of, all this.
You hear this guy? So this is a horrible. It's worse than bad faith. It's just a white supremacist rhetorical question. If the Supreme Court just plainly just say who can make communities and who can, they did. I explained that a bunch of times. They already done that. But they don't register to them because, they got that evil mind, man, and they're not hearing what they want to hear. So they keep going back to what's already understood in law.
This tension would go away. But it is the concept of this having to, I don't want to say having to right the wrong because you have to do it, but it's this overwhelming arc of having to right the wrong of segregation that gets these white folks mad because it's like, okay, where does the end, where is the end? When can we finally make our own,
Serrano, that's actually a contradiction, bro. If you were tired, first of all, if you were tired of us, you wouldn't have came here. And matter of fact, if you wanted your message to be read, you should have sent a super chat. Because something like that, obviously, we're going to delete because that's a contradiction. Like, if I'm tired of something, if I'm tired of pizza, guess what? Guess where I won't be? In a pizza store, right? If I'm tired of, drinking beer, what I'm not going to drink is beer. So if you're tired of us, why do you come to our spaces? That's a contradiction. But if you wanted to just send that message, let's say if you are tired of us and you just want us to know that, you super chat that. But a regular comment in the chat, it just seems like a contradiction. You're saying you're tired of us, but you can't help but come in our spaces and be expressive.
So I'm telling you, the solution is literally staring at us right down the barrel, and that is we got to go to the Supreme Court and see how this plays out.
So, bottom line, you're for these segregated enclaves, right?
As long as anyone can go ahead and do it, absolutely.
Right. Okay, let me get Cousin Jerry in real quick. Your Cousin Jerry, hop on in real quick.
I don't know what Cousin Jerry said. Let me see. I might not play it.
Jerry?
Hey, Flex, how's it going?
I'm good. What's going on, brother?
Not much, not much. I think I understand the disconnect that this young man has.
Yeah.
For some reason, this young man, he wants us to jump into this fight and go to the Supreme Court.
I told you, Jerry got it. I caught that immediately when I first played this family. I said, look at this. A white supremacist needs our help. But everybody act like we're 13%, we're powerless, we're just dumb, okay, we're weak, we don't have infrastructure, we have no power, and all these negative things, right? Our IQs are low, all these lies. But everybody, when they need help in this country to get something passed or get something done, they go to the very people they say are powerless, moneyless. White supremacist families are coming to us for our support for all white town. Latinos and other immigrants are coming, illegal immigrants. And you also got the legal ones who want us to fight. They're coming to us for their ICE problem. Yeah. So, but the LGBTQIA plus community comes for us for support. Everybody comes back to the people they say are weak, are small in numbers, no power. It's wild. And it just, like that's a consolation prize for flowers. They don't give us flowers, but they'll beg for our support. That's like flowers, just a little old.
He's somehow under the illusion that they're going to view our fight and his fight as equal.
Right.
Right. Look, I said it too. So V4 Vengeance said, hey, Ron, it seemed to me that these guys are attempting to use FBA momentum and talking points to push their agenda. Right. They're trying to co-opt this. What's the name for them? White supremacist tethers. Yeah, it's fact. It's not working. Kwame is going to kill our brain cells.
Right.
See, what we're trying to get him to understand, the reason why we're just sitting here letting him ramble on, this is not an equal fight. If we decide that we want 1,000 acres and separate, within 6 months, we're going to be infiltrated and destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to say we want our own private clubs, within a year, we're going to be up on Fed charges.
Mm-hmm.
But once your community and whatever white community y'all do that, y'all are going to be protected because you're going to set your own government up of your own people that are party to the federal government. So you keep telling us Supreme Court and all this. Listen, those things that you're saying, they are your fight that you're trying to get us involved in. What we're saying is just this simple. Just as the guy in Brunswick, Georgia was.
Oh, well, yeah, cousin Jerry.
There you go. Jerry, cooking.
He was literally, come on now. Internet for Jerry, please come back.
Cousin Jerry, you here? Uh-oh. I don't know what.
Hey, Tariq?
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? To kind of take off from what the last gentleman was speaking of, I mean, this whole argument boils down to they trying to sneak in this whole thing to the Supreme Court in order to dismantle everything else. It's just plain of it. I'm a truck driver. I've been driving trucks for 25 years. I've spoken to you before. I've been to every corner of the United States, including Alaska. Whites-only communities exist. They've been existing for years and in bigger pockets than this little Springfield, Missouri location. One thing they practice is violence. I have my own company. I deliver food to grocery stores all across the country. As a black man, I'm hated. I'm scared off. Sundown towns, not only do they exist, they thrive.
Oh, yeah.
So this community does not come with the simple, let's get together in peace and harmony and celebrate this quote-unquote white culture.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not what they're trying to practice. They're trying to practice violence. And I know there's a viral video right now in a normal suburban community. A black Amazon driver, I know you brought it up, but there's actual footage of it you can look up. They literally chased him off. Oh, yeah. And they called the police on him, and the police handcuffed him for making a delivery. Oh. Mind you, the whole entire video shows him just conducting his job.
Yeah, this happens all the time. Black FedEx drivers, black Amazon drivers get up in a white neighborhood and get shot and chased off. Yeah, this happens all the time. So I can imagine what would happen in this little all-white enclave. But go ahead, brother.
Yeah, and I have to drive my truck to multiple towns. I've been to, there's this town called Salina, Kansas, off of I-70. I sat at the truck stop. to have my lunch after I made my delivery. Literally everybody, this is not that far, not that long ago. They literally walked out the whole truck stop sign. I wasn't aware of it till about 10, 15 minutes, and I asked the waitress, is it usually this slow? She said, don't pay him no attention. They just walked off because you came in. This happened about a year ago.
Oh, wow.
So this happens all the time. White culture, quote unquote, like I grew up in Seattle, moved to Atlanta. White culture is one of violence, one of exclusion, one of fear, of I don't know what they're afraid of. I mean, I'm sure you broke it down multiple times, but moving to Atlanta, I've experienced as a half Ethiopian, half Italian person. I've experienced nothing but love from FBAs. FBAs, when they, let's say for example, there's a community called Niski Lake, a whole community of millionaire black folks in Atlanta, just not that about a mile away from the mayor of Atlanta's house.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple of white people that were able to buy a house a few years back. No problems. Nobody.
Oh, Pinky, I seen your videos. I keep forgetting to play them. So when we live, like just say, Ron, play the links. I seen the music videos. That's crazy. The video links are crazy. The music, we're on their mind like crazy. Yeah.
They told them they can't buy a house over there. Nobody excludes them. But there's no such thing, which is the same exact equivalent to that when it comes to whites only community. When they want to start up a community like this is a ploy to destroy every other protection that is around. Now, as far as the FBA community, like you said, there's no protection that would, if the protection was even available, this is just fear of problems they cause in the first place. When I say problems is just because you're lazy and you attracted a bunch of immigrants to your communities to do the jobs that you don't want to do, not black people, I'm talking about white Americans do not want to work. That's been the history of white America since the 1600s. They cannot handle certain types of work. When I spoke to you the first time about a year ago, I was telling you about a company I used to work for in Atlanta, a food service company. We had 55 drivers that deliver to Starbucks all across the Southeast, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, all the way down to Florida. We had 2 white guys. It's not like the job didn't pay money. We were making $150,000 and $160,000 a year, so pay was never a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We did everything to advertise to attract drivers to come and help us out. We had a 90% turnover rate, meaning people do not want to do those jobs. But you know who was working there dedicated for over 10, 15 years? FBA brothers I worked with.
Mm-hmm.
Strong FBA brothers. We're talking about offloading a 53-foot trailer full of milk, groceries, and everything else to different Starbucks stores. So this whole notion of laziness, this is something that they like to spread around, but really who the lazy one is them. And then what they do is they attract foreign, illegal migrant workers to come over and work in their communities. And then when those migrant workers multiply and kind of overwhelm their communities, and now they get afraid, they want to start another cold community. And like the sister was speaking a little while ago, it's just a matter of time before that community fails. It's going to fail because they can't do the work. They can't sustain themselves. Next thing is they're going to start bringing more people again.
So then just really quickly, if these communities are doomed to fail, wouldn't it be a testament to the history books to allow them to destroy themselves, to effectively cannibalize themselves, and to show history that this does not work?
No, that would have been fine if that's what's all going to happen. That's not what's going to happen. The fact is, violence is within their nature. You understand what I'm saying? So they're not just going to cannibalize themselves. They're going to they're going to go above and beyond and try to eat up everything around them. This is the problem. Like the whole Tulsa thing, I don't know if you actually understand it. The jealousy and the envy is what caused them to commit the violence they committed. Because they know they can do it, they can cut it out on their own. They went ahead and cannibalized everybody else. I mean, the separation of what they wanted, they should just left those folks alone and they could have been thriving. But multiple places all around the country. Atlanta, I'll give you an example. Atlanta at the moment is experiencing amazing thing for Black Americans.
He's talking way too long. Okay, give me damn flag. How long he talking? Hold on. All right. Okay, so let's stop. Get down. Stop it. Get down. Hey, get your shoes on. Okay, let's go over some things real fast. Okay, oh my God, because at some point, Tariq kicked him off. He kept talking in circles. All right, so again, now I'm arguing in circles, the same points over and over and over. Okay, so the difference isn't who wants their own space. The difference is who they're trying to keep out. It goes back to exclusion, discrimination. It has nothing to do with these guys coming together and chat. You're falling for it too, because you're like, hey man, I don't see an issue. Yes, discrimination is illegal. All right, period. If you think it's legal, then you're a criminal. You should be deported. All right. So now he keeps bringing up false comparisons. He said the senior citizen. Hey, stop it. He said the senior citizen had an age restriction, 55 or older, right? And I think that's like every state, every 50 states, 55. They always ask. You know, I work in low income housing. People call, hey, my mom want to know, or my dad want to know. They want a room. Hey, move. I can talk face. They want to know about the age, like where it start from, 55, and I think that's like national. Anyway. Gym memberships, clubs, they want to compare all the stuff to this white racist RTTL. And now they're talking about the Amish, Somali. Stop. They're talking about the Amish, Somali, Muslims, you dig? So these are false comparisons, bad faith arguments, man. Okay. I keep saying stop, you keep doing it. All right. The dog's excited. He's going to knock something over. All right. So the Amish and Muslims, right, they don't build communities to exclude people by race, right? They build them to preserve culture, faith, and lifestyle. So last time for white supremacists. They don't put up signs saying no whites, no blacks, or membership skin tone. Come over here. Or membership skin tone only, all right? So RTTL, okay? And other whites only compounds are about exclusion, not identity. They're cosplaying as that. The Amish don't ban people by race. They restrict modern technology and lifestyle choices. Muslim communities, they aren't Muslim only, okay, by law or policy. Many towns with majority Muslim populations still have racial and religious diversity. So what Tariq asked him earlier, he said, okay, listen, to have a whites only town, it has to bring violence, because how are you going to enforce it? That's why I keep telling you guys, the Muslim, the Amish, like, these ain't race-based towns that really thrive on exclusion. Because once you have an exclusion policy, you have to enforce it, and then you have to have enforcers. It's either going to be you guys as vigilantes, or you're going to have law enforcers enforcing that law, and most likely the law enforcers are residents of that town. Okay. So, right. However, is based on one thing, and it's just being white. Okay. That's not culture. That's segregation. Okay. So the Supreme Court has already ruled on this. He keeps mentioning the Supreme Court over and over and over. I mean, some scare tactic stuff. We don't need to go to the Supreme Court, buddy. We don't got to go there for answers. Okay. Stop. We've already had them for over 50 years. Okay, you got Shelley versus Kramer, 1948. Racially restrictive covenants can't be enforced by courts. I spoke about that earlier. Civil Rights Act, 1968, Fair Housing Act. It's illegal to refuse housing based on race, even on private land, right? Used for residential purposes, buddy. Jones versus Mayer Company, 1968. Private citizens cannot discriminate in selling property based on race, even in private transactions. So there is no legal path to create a white-only community. That's just the facts. Okay, so when can we make our own, right? That's what he's asking. Buddy, white guy, when can we make our own? Okay, that's a loaded question, because historically, white Americans already did make their own, fool. It was called Jim Crow. You already had your white towns, man. It was called sundown towns. You had sundown towns. It was called redlining. You had your own already, buddy, and you violently kept other folks out. Okay, so the anger isn't about fairness, all right? It's about loss of racial privilege. Okay, foundational Black American communities like Greenwood, Black Wall Street were not exclusionary. They were survival-based, as the sister brought up, right? So And they were formed because Black Americans were systematically excluded, from white institutions, right? So now he brought up DEI. But DEI is not the problem. Racial insecurity is. Diversity, equity, and exclusion is an attack. It's a correction, all right? The only people uncomfortable with DEI are those who were used to being the only ones included. Now, they're not included. So DEI isn't why tension exists. Racial grievance, politics, and the desire to wall off communities based on whiteness is. Okay, so you're not fighting freedom, buddy. You're fighting the freedom to exclude. That's all. You want to have that exclusion button on deck. That's not a constitutional right. That's just white supremacy in slow motion. You dig? So peace doesn't come from racial enclaves. It comes from justice. If you want to build your own community, buddy, great. But the Constitution doesn't let you use skin color as the basis to lock people out. And we know that's going from there. You're going to be on your own, again, like enforcing law. I put the phone number in there for Kwame to call. Let me put it one more time. So anybody who agrees with the white guy, call in. Like I said, Kwame, the white guy, Tariq didn't mute because the white guy was very respectful. He knew he called in a show. He knew he's a guest. He knew who the host was. He respected the host, and the guy never got muted, right? He stopped when Nasheed said stop. He respected the channel. He respected the space. Kwame, to a large degree, does the same here. He respects the space. He don't try to overtalk me and try to act like he's the co-host like other folks do. So that's the phone number if you can maintain that type of discipline. If you can't, let me call in. Stop. All right. So, and by the way, you're calling on topic. On topic. We want to know what you agree with, disagree with. And I keep hearing like part of white society. You want to be, a white community, all white community. They never even argue that. So I don't know why people even saying that. That's like weird to me. That was not part of the argument at all. Outside. Here, hold this. Hold this. Good. Okay. Hold on. Hold on. 1 second, family. Where's Stop it. Give me a second. Hey, you can do that. Pull my whole laptop out of my hand. Hey, stop. All right, family. Yeah, so how y'all like it? I think it was, I think it was a dope discussion, right? Like, again, the guy was well-versed in his topic. Come on. The guy was well-versed in his white supremacist talking points. He had rebuttals. He had the whole doctrine down pat. Like, he was probably a straight-up leader in that movement in Arkansas. That's where it's established, somewhere in Arkansas. Looked like he wrote the code. He wrote the damn Constitution for that all-white society. He was well-versed in their talking points. And he wanted to challenge them before they, take it somewhere, I guess, legal activists, civil rights lawyers. So he used a big space like Tariq Nasheed. And he obviously respected Tariq Nasheed intelligence and historical account on white supremacy in America. He wanted to see how, in my opinion, would it stand up against his platform, his folks, and FBAs, period. Okay, and I really think he just talked in circles. He talked in circles. He made bad faith comparisons. He's comparing 55 years old and older senior citizen buildings that's like age restricted to all white private clubs, like let's say like a dance hall, a rap concert club, get your dance. He compared that to it. Oh, but they're discriminating, or they have a criteria that everybody just can't come in. Then he compared that to gym membership. Then he compared it to religious institutions, religious enclaves that's voluntarily, and they're not exclusive. Like you could join a religion. So he brought the Amish, he brought the Somalis, and like everywhere he went, it kept coming back down to, bro, they don't they don't discriminate based on race though. Like you're the only so-called community. You're the only so-called membership that discriminates based on skin color, dude. So all these bad faith comparisons, they all fall short because none of them are discriminating, excluding based on race. And them are, and they're not inclusive to skin color. So now, chat. Let me tell you something. In the Nation of Islam, right? You guys would see all those black Muslims out there, black, Muslims, and you would say, well, hey, but they're doing it. Family, they didn't. Okay, what white folks sometimes came in. They didn't like it because but sometimes they came in and they got pat down. But yeah, so a lot of speeches. You'll see speeches, not a lot, but you see Dr. Khalid Muhammad give speeches, and white folks be there in attendance, and he will cook the shit out of them. So they didn't want them there. They discouraged it, but if they did show up on some old, that's discrimination. You don't allow me in here. You're violating my constitutional rights. What they would do is they'll cook the shit out of them. So, but they did attend. So Dr. Khalid Muhammad. So family, don't be quick to say something you don't know about. Even at Savior's Day, Elijah Muhammad had those white folks at Savior's Day. A couple of Elijah Muhammad functions. Farrakhan, same thing. Ms. Lewis Farrakhan, same thing. White folks were in attendance. Not a lot, but they dared to show up because they wanted to use that. They wanted to get them with discrimination. They didn't allow it because they knew a trick bag. Even the Nation of Islam did not discriminate based on race. They discouraged it and they'll cook the shit out you, but they were able to come. That's the bottom line. Come inside. All right, give me 1 second. Get back. Go. Go. Oh, go that way. I'll try and come back up. Grab my laptop so I can read the screen. Get back in here. Yeah, so they did sometimes pull up and they got cooked and they would walk out. If y'all watch Dr. Khalid, if you're old enough to watch his debate with the Jewish people, right, at their school, they started to walk out. They was leaving that damn debate because he started to go crazy. Okay, so just watch Dr. Khalid Muhammad versus Anthony Hilbert. If there's any white folks in there, I know they left. So, but that's the thing though. So they can't pull that with us. So that's why it's important to be historically accurate when we represent our lineage, right? Peace. Let me get Stormy Weather. Hey, we got to get apples, dude. So let me get Stormy Weather. A lineage rent Stormy Weather. Yeah, so those and the movement, the spirit we have going here. Welcome to Center Cash Chat. You dig? Whatever. $1, $2. No, I'm not Umar Johnson. I'm not gonna say make it. And yeah, and sometimes I cook on him, but like I really don't cook on people when they're FBAs, not tethers or white supremacists. I really don't cook on FBAs, even though I disagree with them when they're like falling hard. If y'all do, no problem. I'm not gonna discourage you. I don't. I like to get them when they like so-called fake standards, tall and strong. That's when I would get them. So when he got momentum, but to each his own. Y'all cook them. You're right. But that's why you're not gonna see me do too many videos or any at all probably on Dr. Umar, what he got going on. I already knew it wasn't gonna stand long. I always said to do. Let go of that. I already said he was scamming. Things like that. Okay. Baker Boy, what's up with Amish human trafficking? They want to be like Christopher Columbus. Man, I don't know nothing about that. That's crazy. That's the phone number for Don Jeter says, giving 43 million people $1 million nowhere near enough. Yeah, so let me just respond. That's a great comment. Let me respond to that. So that's a payout. Okay, I'm sorry, not a payout. That's a installment, or yeah. All right. So that would be to start it. Right. There's nowhere near, but that would be to start it. It could be even 300,000 each person. You feel me? But that's like over time, right? It's installment. We will accept that because they're not going to be able to give us all of the, let's say the number is 20 trillion. So they won't be able to do that without the country feeling it, right? Compromising our country defense and economy. But no issue. 300,000 for a set period of time, plus some land, you dig? Because a lot of land in these southern states, a lot of land, and even west, there's land. Okay, there's a lot of land, because the southern states ain't the best to live in. They have a lot of natural disasters, you feel me, that can undermine what you started there, right? So, but it's for some people. But yeah, if I was in the South, I mean, I'm in the South, but I'm saying if I was to stay permanent, if I had permanent residence, I would like to have like some type of place where it's like could survive these natural disasters. These floods are ridiculous. People have it in Texas, man. Over 100 people. They said that flood waters rose. Stop! No, stop! You're gonna eat something else. That froze. They'll say that froze waters rose. No, you're gonna get a piece of bites. They said that flood water rose 20 feet in 30 minutes. All right, sounds Bantu, peace. It blows my mind to see the culture that killed Abraham Lincoln is still circulating. And man, well, the Union, after they defeated them, they welcomed them back they let them assimilate back into the American way, and they kicked us out. The people who fought with them to preserve the Union, to preserve the integrity of the country, and also to establish our stake in the country, they turned their back on us and befriended their open enemy, the people who just try to kill them off, and establish a confederacy. They welcomed them back with open arms. And even the person who assassinated Abraham Lincoln, that was a Northern man who was he was with the Union, but he was a Southern sympathizer. We didn't have to do it. He felt like it could have been talked out. Like it didn't have to go that way. There's so many white people died. Don't forget what's bothering them the most is that these white men died at the hands of FBAs. Now remember, they just had them in chains. They just had FBAs in chains. You dig? Rice, tobacco, cotton, all these things going on. And now these guys holding a rifle, taking out their best buddy, their uncle, their grandfather. So go sit right there. Go sit in the chair. Yeah, so that's some of the reasons why they'll never forgive us or the government. So listen, white supremacists, I got a video on the government. White supremacists featuring Dr. Claude Anderson. White supremacists look at no federal government and FBAs as like equal ops. Like they don't see us no difference. That's why you are here in their spaces. They're going to be heavy against us, talking points, and they're going to talk mad shit against national and federal government. That's all you're going to hear. Don't talk about us, how we ain't nothing, IQ's low, and how the federal government is a bunch of tyrants and, we need less federal government. We need more states' rights. And that's low key for sundown towns, Jim Crow, segregation. They start talking that we need more states' rights, because states' rights is what instituted states' rights instituted Jim Crow in the first place. That was always unconstitutional. The government just helped them be successful in advertising us, or just turn the black eye. I mean, I'm sorry, just turn their face around and let it just happen. That's what I'm saying. So is anybody interested in calling in? Oh, I got this. Okay, cool. If not, I'm gonna play the next video. Give $1 trillion a year for 20. Yeah, so give me my 300 grand. Give me that shmoney ASAP. So let's get back to this real fast.
Quality for everyone in this country so that we could.
3 things I thought were fixing hypertension were actually doing the opposite. The first one raises your blood pressure.
I try to make my
the
account
second damages your
my
arteries.
premium.
And the
I
third,
hate when I have
immigrate here, our moms or dads or grandparents. Oh, not to mention a lot of those fathers and mothers and grandparents and aunties are racist as hell. Like unambiguously anti-black, racist as all hell. My sisters and I had to beat that shit out of our Ethiopian parents with the quickness. But I can't deny that it was there. We are African Americans in the most literal way one can be. And they are Black Americans, built into the foundation of this country. So foundational Black American, I don't understand what the problem is. How does that negatively impact us? I can't think of one time that my Ethiopian American ass has been subjugated due to a Black American calling themselves foundational. I don't get it.
Now, in an ordinary situation, I would just say that this woman is
right. So as you see, like the word foundational and FBA, they hate that. So when I talk to these guys, all in, and they be like, "Yo, that's a made-up word." They say all this type of stuff, but then eventually it comes back and they shoot themselves in the foot because eventually they're going to stop saying African American by undermining us doing that, and they're going to eventually slip up and say Black American. So I'm going to say, okay, so you just said Black American. Are those words, is Black American and African American, is that interchangeable, or that's a whole different ethnicity? So of course they got to say the interchangeable. But then I say, okay, well, are we foundational? Did we lay the foundation to this country? And now that's when some folks will admit yes, and a tether is probably going to say no.
using common sense. She's right. They didn't build this. They don't know what it took for us to get to the point that we are and for them to get to the point that they are here in America. They don't know because she knows that her family and these Black immigrants didn't do anything here. They were able to come here to a ready-made first world country, and nobody in their families had to suffer. Nobody in their families had to lose their lives. Their communities were not flooded, were not bombed, were not shot up. They didn't have to deal with the legislators all over.
You know what? Let me play that tether. She's more entertaining. Not her. It's because she was being honest. Hold on. I'm going to give you a real tether.
Because to a certain degree, Black Americans are left alone to succeed. But there's also a lot of murmurs in Atlanta with the white community. One coach came out and said that quiet out loud a few years ago when he was upset about, literally, he mentioned the success that Black Americans are having in Atlanta. When Black Americans are left alone, foundational Black Americans always succeed. It just so happened that somebody from your community, sir, watches it, gets jealous, instead of going out there and competing and doing what he's supposed to be doing, then he goes try to sabotage it. That's the problem, if you're understanding where this whole conversation is going.
I get that. The concept of the whites are going to band together to destroy what they deem is better. Like, I understand that concept, or they just simply don't want the Negroes living down the street. That is something I understand. And if we had, an all-white Supreme Court, if we had an all-white justice system, then yeah, I could see the fear. But if you go to Washington, D.C., we literally have two FBAs, dare I say. Is Kentani all the way?
We don't know.
Okay. Well, I know Clarence Thomas is. We even have an FBA on the Supreme Court. I don't think the quote-unquote white federal power structure would allow for ruthless race violence to permeate through America if these societies were able to be made. And the reason why I know that is because we already have communities that are effectively 100% white, like the Amish community. You may say, oh, there's one black brother that lives there, but effectively it's 99% white. You don't see Amish people going down the street and killing, who knows who, just because they're not Amish. Mennonites, so on and so
but they
forth.
didn't make it a discriminatory place. Black folks just don't want to live in an Amish neighborhood. It's not discriminatory based on race. It's like they practice certain religious customs and they don't like technology, things like that. If that's so, it's not based on you blacks can't live here. In fact, many of the Amish, some of them were helping on the Underground Railroad, so a lot of the Amish are actually cool. So that's kind of a false equivalency. But thank you so much, Fawcett. I thank you so much for Fawcett to be here babbling forever.
It's essentially a speed bump. I mean, we'll see if anything real happens from this, but I doubt it. Putting that in real terms, the executive order he issued that wipes out birthright citizenship can't be blocked across the country by any one judge. Most states are going to be affected by it, and most babies born to undocumented immigrant mothers or immigrants with temporary status aren't going to have citizenship. For those who claim to care about the Constitution and who heard that sentence and didn't see what the problem is,
obsessed.
This order is in direct conflict with the 14th Amendment. Your boy is picking and choosing what parts of the law to respect, kind of like Christians do with the Bible. That actually explains why evangelicals like him so much, now that I think about it. Now that we've cleared up what the order did, let me get back to these cults. Now, let me clarify. I didn't do all this research to blindly call thousands of people cult members. That being said, a chronically online collection of my fellow black people called Foundational Black Americans is a trademark brand created.
Look, here you go with the trademark brand. By the way, family, I got a video on that, the trademark. So check that out because it cooks this right here. When that's your argument, I know you're not that smart when it comes to trademarks.
Called Foundational Black Americans is a trademark brand created by a serial scammer called Tariq Nasheed. Link up top if you want to watch the movie I made about all that. Just avoid the comment section. According to Nasheed's site, FBAs are descended from slaves on at least one parent's side, and he claims many are native to America since before the slave trade. They frequently refuse to claim their African ancestry, and they call most immigrants their own made-up slurs, like tether. I'm as American as the new cap, and they've done it to me for the last month, too. I try not to assume that people watching my videos have seen anything else I've done, so quick refresher on the finer points of my previous video, as well as some things I've thought about since releasing it. I've had some time to marinate. There's a very distinct difference between ADOS, or American Descendants of Slaves, and FBA. ADOS is basically a bunch of black people, like us, who believe they deserve reparations, which we do, and have two founders who are mostly left-leaning. However, one of them served on the board of a fake progressive organization called Progressives for Immigration Reform, which borrows heavily from the ideas of a white supremacist. Yes, I'm doubling down on that because I have proof. Here's a vet admitting that she was on the board, but if you attack them, you're attacking ADOS, and that you're aligned with white party leaders. Keep that in mind. They're called the Project for Immigration Reform now. Here's the promo video on their website.
The National Environmental Policy Act, known as NEPA, was
All right, so that right there. What is this? So now I can't say he used our acronym to get views because I watched his videos. Like he get views, so he get a lot of views without her title in there. So, but that's good though because he keeps exposing us to the masses. Thank you. I'm trying to find his video. One sec. Give me 1 second. And I'm gonna do another with Nick, the racist, white supremacist, and Ken Owens, but this time I'm going to fact check his arguments. So like I did just now with a white dude that was talking about trying to justify a white racist city. I'm going to be debunking because I went back and he made some heavy claims about Africa. He said they had no writing and no will, all this stuff he was saying about Africa. And good old white man had to come over there and civilize them, dig. So I'm gonna definitely address that, fact check all that in a real way. All right. Which American Dream? Which? There you go. Who? See, I see American Dream. He's not even. I can't even give him the phone number. He just rambles and he's one of those let me finish dudes. He's never finished when he's talking. He's always let me finish. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that, family. I'm trying to find a video. I have no idea where it's at. Let's get it. $1.99. Super chat. Thank you very much. He said this dude is a clown. He absolutely is. So family, I'm out of here. I'll catch ya.